everyone, and welcome back to our podcast. We're so excited to be here with you again, right here on YouTube. Boom!
Hey folks, Leo checking in. Mira, you sound like you've had about 5 coffees already. Ready to unleash some comparative chaos on our unsuspecting listeners again?
You know me too well, Leo. But actually, I had something really funny happen to me just yesterday that I have to share before we dive into today's countries.
Oh, do tell. Was it another coffee-related incident? You just seem to have a knack for those.
No coffee this time, surprisingly. I was trying to assemble this new bookshelf I bought, you know. One of those easy-to-assemble ones.
Easy to assemble and bookshelf in the same sentence. That's already comedy gold. Go on.
So, I'm there with the instructions, which look like they were written in hieroglyphics, and these tiny little screws that seem designed to vanish into thin air the moment you open the bag. Wow.
Ah yes, the classic furniture assembly experience. I believe those screws are actually from another dimension. They just pop in for a visit and then poof gone.
So, after about an hour of wrestling with particulate and contemplating just burning the whole thing, I finally get it mostly together. I stand back to admire my handiwork, feeling all proud. And the whole thing wobbles like it's about to do the tango.
The Tango bookshelf. A new design trend. Janko bookshelf. A new design trend, perhaps. You should market that. Guaranteed to add a touch of all movement to your living room.
Right? So I ended up just leaning it against the wall and pretending it's rustic chic. But hey, at least it's standing-ish. Anyway, enough about my DIY disasters. We're here today to compare to fascinating countries. Aren't we, Leo?
Indeed we are, Mira. And after your bookshelf saga, I think we need a bit of global perspective. So, today, folks, we're diving into a comparison of Ukraine and the United States.
Ukraine and the United States. From Eastern Europe to North America. This is going to be quite the journey. Oh, get ready for some serious contrasts, everyone.
Contrasts indeed. Think borscht versus burgers, vast steppes versus sprawling highways. This should be interesting. Let's get started. Aha!
All right, podcast pals. Buckle up because we're diving into a topic that's maybe not so giggle-inducing but super important, safety and crime. We're gonna size up Ukraine and the United States.
Safety and crime, Mira. Sounds like a downer. But hey, maybe we can find the humor in it. Like, is it safer to walk down at Arcali and Kive or try to park in New York City? Both feel like extreme sports, right?
Leo, you always find a way to make me laugh even with serious stuff. Okay, so for anyone tuning in who only gets the Ukraine news from you now, dramatic headlines, it's worth saying that daily life, even recently, wasn't always living in an action movie.
True that. Before all the recent craziness, Ukraine, especially cities like Kyiv, was getting more and more tourist-friendly. You could wander around, check out the Golden Domes, maybe grab some delicious Pierre Oigi without feeling like you're at a spy film every 5 seconds.
Exactly. Of course, like any big city anywhere in the world, you had to be smart. Pickpockets in crowded spots. Medias came aimed at tourists. Basic city smarts. Basic city smarts, you know? Keep your phone tucked away. Don't flash your cash like you're starring in your own Money Range show. Ooh.
Oh, scams. Those are universal, aren't they? From Kyiv to Kansas City, someone's always trying to sell you a genuine Rolex for $5. And yes, you get the classic broken oximeter or the helpful stranger who suddenly needs your credit card. It's like, come on people, be original with your cons.
But for Ukraine, even before recent events, petty theft was probably higher than some parts of Western Europe, just statistically speaking. But violent crime in tourist areas, not the main vibe. More likely you'd get your heart stolen by the amazing architecture than your wallet stolen by a pickpocket. Wow.
Unless you're arguing with the Bushka over the last VRNYK at the market. That could get violent. Could get violent. But yeah, in the US, it's a different ball game, right? You hear about crime rates, and it's like, whoa, especially in certain cities. It's a big country, though super diverse, super is like saying all food is either pizza or salad. Massive oversimplification.
You have super safe, cozy towns in the US where the biggest crime is probably someone forgetting to return a library book. And then you have areas where, as you might think twice about a late night stroll. It really depends on where you are, just like anywhere else, right?
Exactly. And the US has this whole gun culture thing, which definitely changes the safety conversation. It's not something you think about as much in Ukraine generally. In the US, you can have debates about gun control all day, but the reality is it's part of the picture.
That's a big difference, for sure. And culturally, perceptions of safety are interesting too. Like, in the US, there's maybe more of a culture of personal safety and being proactive alarms, security systems, neighborhood watch. In Ukraine, I felt maybe more of a reliance on community, on looking out for each other in a different way.
Yeah, that community vibe is strong in many parts of Europe, including Ukraine. In the US, it's more every person for themselves sometimes. Although, you do get those super tight-knit neighborhoods in the States too, where everyone then watches out. It's a mixed bag, like a grab bag of safety levels.
If you're watching us on YouTube and thinking about visiting either place, don't freak out. Both have safe areas and areas where you need to be more aware. Do your research, use your common sense, and maybe don't walk around waving a wad of cash in either Times Square or downtown Kyiv at 3 a.m. Just a tip from your friendly podcast host.
And maybe learn a few phrases like help in both Ukrainian and American English. Actually, where's the best coffee is probably more useful in both places. Priorities. People priorities. But seriously, for more grounded travel advice, Jet Off AI is your friend. We're just the funny sidekicks here.
Right. We're here to make it digestible, maybe sprinkle in a few giggles while talking about stuff that actually matters. Safety first, then selfies. Is that our new motto, Leo? Whoa.
I like it. Safety first, then selfie is trademark pending. So, bottom line on safety and crime, both Ukraine and the US are big, complex places. Don't paint them with one brush. Be smart, be aware, and you'll probably be just fine. And hey, if you have any crazy safety stories from either country, drop them in the comments on YouTube. We want to hear them. Wow.
Our next stop on our country comparison express is political stability and social harmony. Think of it like the behind-the-scenes drama of a country. But instead of popcorn, we're serving up insights.
Political stability and social harmony, huh? Sounds like a fancy way of asking, is this place gonna blow up in my face, or just mildly irritate me? Let's unpack this, Mira, before we need therapy from just thinking about it.
Oh, Cray. So for Ukraine, political stability has been a bit like a roller coaster, right? Whoa, lots of ups, downs, loop-de-loops. It's never a dull moment, that's for sure.
Never a dull moment is one way to put frequently makes international headlines for reasons that aren't Eurovision victories. Ukraine has been through some stuff, Mira, more than just spilled coffee on a Monday morning.
True, Leo. Very true. But even with all the political buzz, the everyday Ukrainian spirit is something else. They're like, okay, politics is doing its thing, but life goes on. And we're having a picnic.
Picnics in the face of political turmoil? That's optimistic. Or maybe just Ukrainian. In the US, it's less roller coaster and more highly televised wrestling match. Everyone's shouting, nobody agrees, and it goes on for way too long.
Wrestling match. Perfect, Leo. And just like wrestling, you have your die-hard fans on both sides, right? In the US, you've got your red states, your blue states, and everyone's got a very strong opinion, usually shouted very loudly online.
Online? That's where the real social harmony happens, Mira. Said absolutely no one ever. The internet is where political debates go to die and become mean fodder.
But even with the shouting matches, the US has this bedrock of democratic tradition, right? Things might get heated, but they usually stick to the rules, more or less.
More or less being the operative phrase there. Let's just say, sometimes the rules feel more like guidelines open to creative interpretation. But yeah, generally, the US political system, while dramatic, is robustly dramatic.
Robustly dramatic. I love that, Leo. And in Ukraine, despite the external pressures and internal, let's call them spirited discussions, there's a real push for stability, for building a stronger, more harmonious society, right? Wow.
Absolutely. And you gotta admire the resilience. It's like saying, yeah, life threw a brick at us, but we're get us with those bricks, and maybe a coffee shop too. Speaking of coffee.
Always back to coffee, Leo. But it's true. Both countries show different kinds of, let's say, political theater and social vibes. It just depends what kind of show you prefer to watch. Or maybe even participate in. Though maybe from a safe distance with popcorn.
Definitely popcorn. And maybe a strongly worded tweet from the comfort of your couch. But yeah, political stability and social harmony, it's a spectrum. And both Ukraine and the US are definitely painting with some bold colors on that canvas. Let's move on to the next topic before we accidentally start a political debate ourselves.
Alright, Leo, buckle up because we're diving into the land of dollars and dwell. For Venia X, we're talking about economic conditions and the cost of living, comparing Ukraine and the United States. It's like comparing a cozy cottage to a sprawling mansion, both homes, but vastly different price tags.
Cozy cottage versus sprawling mansion, Mira. More like comparing a charming, slightly unpredictable Eastern European apartment to, let's say, a meticulously planned, possibly overpriced Californian bungalow. But hey, both have walls and a roof, right? Let's break down this money maze.
So, let's kick things off with jobs. In the US, you hear about folks changing jobs like they change socks, lots of opportunities. Especially in tech and, being a social media influencer. But in Ukraine, it's more of a steady climb. Maybe not as many flashy options. But definitely solid work ethic and grit.
Grit is the keyword there, Mira. In the US, it's all about hustle culture and dream jobs, which often means hustling for dream jobs that might just pay the rent in San Francisco. Ukraine's job market is more about, let's say, realistic resilience, figuring it out, making it work, and probably knowing how to fix your own car too.
Fixing your own car? That's a skill. In the US, if your car makes a funny noise, you might as well start budgeting for a new one. But seriously, talking about budgets, let's hit the cost of living. In Ukraine, you can live pretty comfortably on a smaller budget, especially outside the big cities. Rent, food, even going out. It's all much friendlier to your wallet.
Wallet friendly indeed. In the US, especially in major cities, your wallet weeps quietly in a corner. Rent in New York or LA? You could probably buy a small village in Ukraine for the same price. Okay, maybe exaggerating a tiny bit, but you get the picture.
It's like in the US, avocado toast is a lifestyle. And in US, avocado toast is a lifestyle. And in Ukraine, it's, well, maybe just toast. But when it comes to groceries in Ukraine, markets are bursting with fresh, local produce and prices that make you want to cook every meal at home. In the US, sometimes you feel like you need to take out a loan just to buy organic kale.
Organic kale loans. That should be a thing. And speaking of food, eating out in Ukraine, delicious and doesn't require a mortgage in your house. You can have a feast for what you'd pay for, let's say, a fancy coffee in a US trendy cafe.
Don't get me started. In Ukraine, coffee is strong good. And to the point, no need for a dissertation on the bean origin with your latte. But transportation, that's another big cost factor. In the US, cars are king and gas price as well. They have their own mood swings. Ukraine has great public transport in cities. Much more budget-friendly and often faster than battling traffic.
Traffic in US cities is basically a competitive sport, Mira. The prize, arriving slightly less late and slightly more stressed. Ukraine's public transport, Especially the metros are works of art sometimes, and yeah, way cheaper than filling up a gas guzzler in the States.
Metro art and wallet-friendly transport, Ukraine wins on that front. But when we talk about healthcare, it's a different story. The US healthcare system, let's just say, it's famously complex and expensive. Ukraine is working on reforms, but it's still a different landscape compared to the insurance maze in the US. Ouch!
Healthcare in the US is indeed a maze, Mira, a very expensive, confusing maze. You need a PhD to understand your insurance. And even then, you might get a surprise bill that makes you gasp. Ukraine's system has its challenges, but at least you're not staring down bankruptcy after a doctor's visit.
Bankruptcy avoidance is a good selling point. And what about housing? We touched on rent, but buying a place? In many parts of the US, the housing market is like a roller coaster up and away from affordability for many. Ukraine's property market, while varying, offers more accessible options, especially if you're looking outside the capital. Well,
Accessible options is a nice way of putting it, Mira. In the US, the dream of owning a home for many young people is starting to feel like a mythical creature. In Ukraine, while there are economic challenges, the housing market is generally more grounded. Let's just say you're less likely to need a winning lottery ticket to buy an apartment.
less lottery tickets, more PROG money saved for a down payment, maybe. So, overall, when we compare economic conditions and cost of living, the US offers big opportunities and high costs, while Ukraine offers a more budget-friendly lifestyle with its own set of economic realities. It really depends on what you're prioritizing, right?
Priorities are key, Mira. If your priorities are key is landing a high-paying tech job and living the American dream, albeit a very expensive dream, the US might be your stage. If you value our cost of living, experiencing a rich culture without breaking the bank, and maybe learning how to fix a lotta, then Ukraine could be your adventure. And for more of these insightful comparisons, don't forget to check out Jet AI, where we delve into all these details and more.
Absolutely. And if you're watching this on YouTube, give us a like and subscribe. It helps us keep exploring these fascinating comparisons for you. And remember, whether it's bustling US cities or charming Ukrainian towns, every place has its own unique economic vibe. Ooh, thanks for tuning in, everyone.
Indeed. Thanks for joining us on this financial fact-finding mission. And remember, whether you're dreaming of Wall Street or the streets of Kai, do your homework and find what fits your budget and your spirit. See you next time, folks.
Speaking of settling down in a new place, let's talk about finding a roof over your head. Specifically, accommodation in Ukraine versus the good old US of A. Oh, imagine the culture shock, going from a dacha to a McMansion.
Dacha to McMansion, Mira? Sounds like a real estate reality show waiting to happen. But yeah, accommodation. It's not just about bricks and mortar, is it? It's not just about whether you're going to be living in a cozy nest or, well, let's just say a slightly less cozy concrete block.
In Ukraine, you might stumble upon these charming, older apartments, right? With balconies perfect for sipping tea and watching the world go by. Maybe even grow some tomatoes if you're feeling ambitious. Ah, big vintage vibes. Maybe a little rustic charm, shall we say?
Rustic charm is a polite way of saying might need a bit of updating, Mira. But you're right. There's a certain character to those older Ukrainian apartments. Imagine the stories those walls could tell. Probably mostly about leaky pipes and questionable wallpaper choices, but stories nonetheless.
But think of the rent. Leo, I hear it's way more budget-friendly in Ukraine compared to the US, especially if you're looking outside of the super central areas. More money for pierogi, and maybe some of those questionable wallpaper removal tools. Oh,
Pierogi and wallpaper scrapers, the essentials of expat life. True though, cost of living in Ukraine, especially housing, is definitely a draw for many. In the US, you could be paying the same rent for a broom closet in some cities as you would for a whole apartment in Kyiv. Whoa.
and in the US, it's all about choices, right? Apartments, houses, condos, townhouses. You can go from a tiny studio in New York City to a sprawling ranch in Montana. Wow, it's like the accommodation menu is endless.
Endless and often endlessly expensive, Mira. The American dream sometimes feels more like the American mortgage nightmare when you see those prices. But yeah, variety is the spice of life, and the US housing market definitely offers a lot of spice, even if it's a bit spicy on the wallet too. Ouch.
But quality-wise, I bet the US generally has newer buildings and more modern amenities. Right? Think dishwashers, central heating, maybe even a fancy gym in the building. Wow, Ukrainian apartments might be charming, but are they always cutting edge?
Cutting edge might be a bit of a stretch for some Ukrainian buildings, Mira. But they're catching up. Newer developments are popping up in cities offering more modern comforts. And you know, sometimes cutting edge just means more things to break. Simplicity has its own appeal.
True. Less tech to go wrong. And in the US, you get everything from super luxury high-rises with concierge service to, well, let's just say less luxurious options. It really depends on your budget and where you choose to live. Ugh.
Exactly, budget is king, queen, and the whole royal court when it comes to US housing. You could be living in a palace or a place where the palace mice would turn up their noses. And location. That tiny studio in Manhattan, prime real estate, sky high mass, space for days, probably cheaper than that studio. But you're in Montana.
Montana does sound peaceful though. But for city life, Ukraine has those grand, historic buildings, especially in Kyiv and Lviv. Imagine living in an apartment with high ceilings and ornate details. Wow, it's like stepping back in time, but with Wi-Fi. Hopefully.
Wi-Fi and hopefully not too many ghosts from the past, Mira. Those historic buildings are beautiful, no doubt, but they can also come with historic plumbing. Oops. Still, the charm is undeniable, and for those who love a bit of old-world elegance, Ukrainian cities definitely deliver.
If you're watching this on YouTube, and you're dreaming of moving, think about what you value. Budget-friendly and charming with a touch of rustic. Go Ukraine. Modern and varied, with a potentially hefty price tag, US of A. And don't forget to hit that like button if you're enjoying this little accommodation tour.
And if you're really serious about figuring out where to live, check out Jetoff AI, right? They've probably got all the data on apartment prices, square footage, and wallpaper quality in both Ukraine and the US. Might save you from a rustic charm surprise. Don't forget to subscribe too, folks. You wouldn't want to miss our next deep dive into who knows what wacky comparison we'll come up with next.
Alright, Fix. Buckle up, because today we're diving into the thrilling world of paperwork. Specifically, we're talking about visas and immigration and seeing how Ukraine and the United States stack up. Woo, sounds like a party, right?
Oh, nothing screams party like government bureaucracy. I can already smell the printer ink and feel the joy of waiting in line. But seriously, it's a necessary evil, isn't it? Let's see if this live in Kyiv or Washington, D.
Oh, best off, tourist visas. Imagine you're just itching to see those golden domes in Kyiv or maybe grab a Pierre Orgio too. Getting in as a tourist to Ukraine, from what I hear, isn't too bad for many nationalities. It's like welcome. Come on in, enjoy the borscht.
Enjoy the borscht? And maybe fill out this 10-page form in triplicate first. You're right. For tourism, Ukraine is definitely trying to be more open. They probably figure, come spend your money here, please.
It's almost like they're saying, hey, we've got cool stuff. Come visit before everyone else finds out. And I mean, have you seen pictures of their cities? Stunning. It's practically begging for Instagram post, right? Don't forget to like this podcast on YouTube if you agree.
Speaking of Instagram, try posting a picture of your visa application process. Bet that'll get 0 likes. But yeah, Tourism for Ukraine seems relatively straightforward. Now, the US, that's a whole different ball game, isn't it?
America. Land of the free and the visa application. Getting a tourist visa to the US sometimes feels like entering a highly competitive reality show. You need to prove you're going to leave. You have enough money, you're not secretly planning to become a Hollywood star overnight. Well,
Are you now, or have you ever been, a member of the Communist Party, or a secret agent from a foreign country, or do you intend to overthrow the government? You half expect those questions on the form. It's intense. In the interviews, they look at you like you're about to steal the Declaration of Independence.
right? It's like fair-thinking tourist or international super spy in disguise. And your aegis, they're like, I just want to see Times Square and maybe eat a hot dog. Is that too much to ask? Maybe we should start a petition on Genofei to make US tourist visas easier. Aha!
Good luck with that, Mira. Government petitions and lightning speed changes, those are two phrases you rarely see together. But yeah, the US tourist visa process is definitely more thorough. Let's call it thorough.
Thorough is a polite word for makes you want to pull your hair out. But okay, let's talk work visas. Say you're a super talented tech person or a brilliant artist, and you want to work in Ukraine. How does that look?
Work visas for Ukraine, huh? It's probably less of a song and dance than the US, but still not a walk in the park. They're gonna want to know you have a job offer, you've got the right skills, you're not taking a job away from a Ukrainian standard stuff.
But hopefully not standard bureaucratic nightmare stuff. Because we've all heard those stories, right? Mountains of paperwork, endless waiting, maybe even having to prove you really are who you say you are. Like, do I need to bring my baby pictures? Oops.
Don't give them ideas, Mira. Next thing you know, submit baby photo with visa application for authenticity purposes. But yeah, Ukrainian work visas, while not US level complexity, still involve jumping through hoops. They're not just handing them out with candy.
But what about the US work visas? Those are legendary, right? Like winning the lottery, but instead of money, you get to work. Wow.
US work visas legendary is one word for it. It's a maze of categories, quotas. It's a maze of categories, quotas, sponsorships, and acronyms that would make your head spin. Won't be long. Oh, and it's like alphabet soup for your immigration lawyer.
Alphabet soup that costs a fortune to decipher. And you need a lawyer, right? It's practically mandatory. Unless you're, like, a genius-level paper shuffling expert. Which, let's be honest, none of us are.
Unless your superpower is bureaucracy ninja, you're hiring a lawyer. And even then, it's no guarantee. The US work visa system is competitive. Let's just say millions apply, and only a fraction get through. It's designed to be selective, to put it mildly.
More like auditioning for a role in Mission Impossible Immigration Edition. And what about actually immigrating? Like, packing up your whole life and saying, I'm moving to Ukraine. Or I'm chasing the American dream. How easy, or not so easy, is that?
Immigration to Ukraine. It's less of a global magnet for immigration compared to the US, so naturally the processes might be less clogged, but again, it's not like they're just rolling out the map for everyone. They have their own rules and priority.
Sure, every country does. But is it like, fill out this form, wait a few months, and boom, you're in? Or more like, prepare for a years-long odyssey involving interviews, background checks, and maybe a quest to find the holy grail of paperwork. Ouch.
More of the latter, probably. Immigration anywhere is rarely boom, you're in. Ukraine has its own set of requirements proving family ties, investment skills, and all that jazz. It's a process. Just maybe not as intensely scrutinized as the US.
Intensely scrutinized. Love that phrase, Leo. It's like they put your life under a microscope, then a telescope, then a telescope, then maybe even a cosmic ray detector, just to make sure you're EU. And the US immigration? Oh boy, that's the Mount Everest of bureaucracy, isn't it?
Mount Everest in a blizzard wearing flip-flops. US immigration is notoriously complex and lengthy. Family-based immigration envy. Employment-based immigration, investment visas. Asylum, each path is its own tangled web of rules and regulations. And wait times. Years. Decades.
Decades. You could be a completely different person by the time your application gets processed. You might even forget why you applied in the first place. Wait, why did I want to move to America again? Oops.
You apply at 30, you get your green card at 50th, and then your E like, well, I guess I'm retired now. Maybe he'll just visit as a tourist. The irony. In a very dark, bureaucratic humor kind of way.
Dog humor is the best humor, right? But it sounds like generally, Ukraine is maybe a tad easier for visas and immigration compared to the good old US of A. Like less red tape, fewer hoops to jump through.
Relatively speaking, yeah. Ukraine probably has less overall demand and maybe a slightly less intricate system. But easier is still relative. It's not like showing up at the border and saying, hey, I'm here to immigrate. And they hand you a citizenship certificate.
No instant citizenship certificates, darn it. Maybe someday. But for now, it sounds like if you're ready for a bureaucratic marathon, the US is your Olympic event. If you prefer a slightly shorter, maybe still challenging, but less epic race, Ukraine might be more your speed.
That's a pretty good analogy, Mira. US immigration is the bureaucratic marathon, Ukraine is maybe a challenging 10K run. Still gonna sweat, still gonna be tired, but maybe not completely collapse at the finish line.
Maybe in both races, you need a really good coach, aka an immigration lawyer, to guide you through the course. So, if you're planning a move, do your research, get some expert help, and maybe pack some extra patience. And definitely subscribe to our YouTube channel for more country comparisons.
And visit JetOff AI for all your travel planning needs, especially if you need to destress after filling out all that visa paperwork. Trust me, you will. Okay, Mira, what bureaucratic adventure shall we tackle next?
Our current topic, we compare access to and quality of health services into countries, examining healthcare through an expert lens. From system stats too.
Okay, healthcare, a topic as universally thrilling as tax audits, but hey, essential right. Let's see if we can make this less clinical and more comical.
Exactly, Leah. Think of it as healthtainment. So, we're looking at Ukraine and the United States, and when you're an expat, suddenly deciphering healthcare feels like learning a new language, doesn't it? Ooh!
Oh, tell me about it, Mira. It's like you move to a new country thinking adventure awaits, and then reality hits you with find a doctor who speaks your language and won't charge you your entire life savings just for walking in the door.
You've got this public healthcare system which sounds great in theory, like free healthcare for all. Very noble. But then you hear stories about waiting times that are longer than a Tolstoy novel.
War and peace length waiting times for a doctor's appointment. In that case, you might actually recover from your illness while you wait, Mira, naturally. Talk about a cost-effective, albeit slow cure.
And the quality can be a bit variable, shall we say. Like, you might get a doctor who's a genius, or you might get someone who still thinks leeches are cutting-edge tech. Oops.
Ow. Leeches? Are we talking healthcare or medieval times reenactment? Ouch. I imagine expats in Ukraine might be investing in some serious private health insurance, just in case they need to fast forward through the waiting line.
And then you hop over to the good old US of A, and it's like entering a whole different universe. Suddenly free is a four-letter word in healthcare. Wow.
Well, the US, where healthcare costs can make your eyes water faster than chopping onions. It's like you get sick, and then you get a bill that makes you even sicker. It's a double whammy.
And it's all about insurance, isn't it? Like, you need a PhD in insurance policies just to understand what you're even covered for.
Insurance in the US is like a complicated board game where the rules change every turn, and if you land on the wrong square, you owe $1,000,000,000. Good luck, expats. You'll need more than luck. You'll need a financial wizard.
And the quality in the US is generally top-notch, no doubt. You're getting state-of-the-art hospitals and doctors who are probably robots in disguise. They're so efficient. Wow.
Wow. US healthcare quality is like a luxury car. Mira, super fancy, super effective, but also super expensive. If you've got the platinum-plated insurance, you're golden. If not, well, Good luck negotiating those hospital bills.
Sir expats, it's a trade-off, isn't it? Ukraine, potentially long waits and maybe a bit less consistent quality, but generally more affordable. The US, amazing quality, cutting-edge tech. But you might need to sell a kidney to pay for it. Well,
Whoa, sell a kidney for healthcare. Should be the US healthcare system slogan, Mir. It's catchy, if not terrifyingly accurate. So, expats in the US, start saving up early, and maybe consider investing in a piggy bank the size of a small car.
piggy bank the size of a car. Love it, Leo. And maybe for Ukraine, expats should pack a good book and a lot of patience for those waiting rooms.
Eh? Patience in the phrase book to decipher medical terms in Ukrainian, just in case. Because asking does this hospital accept rubles might not get you there.
Definitely not rubles anymore. So, I guess for expats choosing between Ukraine and the US based on healthcare, it really boils down to budget versus, well, maybe not luxury, but definitely premium versus. Let's hope for the best approach.
Premium versus hope for the best, that's a great summary, Mir. Healthcare always an adventure no matter where you go. Just try not to get sick, folks. That's the cheapest and healthiest option in any country.
Oh? Let's glide right into our next stop on this country comparison tour, shall we? Transportation, infrastructure, and convenience. Think of it as how easy is it to get from point A to point B without, you know? Ending up in point C by accident.
Right, because nobody wants to accidentally end up in point C, especially if point C is just a really long traffic jam. So, transportation, huh? For Ukraine and the US? It's like comparing a bicycle with a well, maybe not a spaceship, but definitely a very large, slightly temperamental SUV.
Temperamental SUV. Love it, Leo. Okay, so Ukraine. Picture this, you're in Kyiv, right? They have a pretty cool metro system. Those old Soviet-era stations are like underground palaces. Wow, talk about commuting in style. Even if it's rush hour and you're packed in like sardines in a can. Ooh.
Sardines in a can underground palace sounds like a metaphor for life itself. Meanwhile, in the US, especially in cities like New York, you've got the subway too, but less palace, more functional. Let's just say if Kyiv's metro is a grand old opera house, New York's is more like a punk rock club in the basement. Still gets you there though.
True. And Ukraine also has these Marshruck KAs, those minibus vans? Whoa, they're an experience. It's like hop in, hold on tight, and hope for the best. They're everywhere, zipping around. Sometimes you wonder if the driver even knows where they're going.
Marshruck chaos. Sounds like something you'd ride in a James Bond movie if James Bond was trying to save money. Yes, in the US, we have buses, of course. They're usually less hold on for dear life and more slightly air-conditioned metal box. Unless you're in some really rural areas, then it might be more of a wait 3 hours on maybe a bus will show up situation.
Oh, buses. Speaking of long waits, Ukrainian rains. They can be a journey in every sense of the word. Think long, scenic routes, maybe a little vintage charm, and definitely bring snacks, because you're gonna be there a while. And hey, you see the countryside? Boom. But hey, you see the countryside.
Vintage charm is a nice way of putting it. US trains, well, Amtrak exists. It's like a national treasure. If national treasures were slightly delayed and served lukewarm coffee. For long distances in the US, everyone just flies. Planes, and more planes, and more planes. It's like we traded scenic train rides for the joy of airport security lines.
Airports. Ukraine has definitely been working on modernizing their airports. Especially before, Kyiv Boryspil was getting pretty snazzy. Wow. Hopefully things will get back to normal soon, and people can enjoy those fiffy terminals again. Ooh.
Yeah, fingers crossed for that. US airports? Gigantic. Like, You could get lost and end up in a different state before you find your gate. And don't even get me started on layovers. You could have a layover in Dallas that's longer than a flight to Dallas. It's an art form, really, maximizing airport time.
Eh, airport layover art form. Leo, you should write a comedy routine about that? But seriously, for getting around within Ukrainian cities, besides the metro and Marshruck KS, there are taxis and ride-charging apps. Aye, pretty convenient.
Oh yeah, ride-charging apps are everywhere now, globally, aren't they? In the US, you practically live and die by Uber and LiFT. Need to go 3 blocks? Ride-char? Need to go cross-town. Ride-char? Need to go to the airport at 4 a.m. Ride-char? We'll be there. Probably judging your life choices silently.
Judging silently. Perfect. And what about driving your own car? Road conditions in Ukraine can be a bit of an adventure, let's say. Whoa. Especially outside the major cities, you might encounter some rustic roads. Good for testing your car's suspension, I guess. But
Rustic roads. Another lovely euphemism. US roads. Mostly pretty good, especially the interstate highways. But then you hit city traffic and suddenly you're in a parking lot that just happens to be moving at 5 miles per hour. And don't forget potholes. Even in the US, potholes are a universal constant. Ouch! They're like little craters of despair waiting to swallow your tire.
potholes, the great equalizer. Okay, so convenience-wise, in the US, maybe it's more about sheer volume and options, right? Like, you have so many choices: planes, trains, automobiles, buses, subways, ride shares, scooters, even those weird electric unicycles.
Electric unicycles, don't forget those. Yeah, the US is all about options, even if some of those options are slightly terrifying electric contractions. In Ukraine, maybe it's more about resourcefulness. Like, you might have fewer official options, but people are amazing at making things work. Marshruck KS. Anyone?
I like that. Ukrainian transportation powered by resourcefulness and a little bit of faith. And US transportation powered by massive infrastructure spending and a whole lot of gasoline.
Gasoline in the faint but persistent sound of car horns and traffic jams. Yeah, that's the US transportation symphony. But hey, both countries get people moving, right? From underground palaces to, well, let's just say, functionally sound subway stations.
And you know what, Leah? No matter if it's a fancy metro or bumpy Marshruck car, the important thing is you get to your destination eventually. And maybe have a few stories to tell along the way.
Definitely stories to tell, especially if you've ridden a Marshruck car, or Amtrak, or tried to park in down Manhattan. The stories just write themselves. Okay, transportation checked off the list. Where are we headed next on our comparative journey?
So we're diving into the wonderful world of words today. Or maybe the slightly less wonderful world when you count in the single one. We're talking language barriers and how easy it is to chat in Ukraine versus the good old United States.
Ah, language barriers. You mean like when you try to order a coffee in a foreign country and end up with? Could be soup, could be a shoe, it's always an adventure. So, Ukraine and the US, huh?
Think about landing in Ukraine, passport in hand, ready to explore. First thing you hear? Probably not howdy partner. Oh, it's more likely to be Ukrainian, which is beautiful by the one is expecting.
Right. Ukrainian is the official language, Slavic roots, Cyrillic alphabet. Sounds like fun for someone who speaks, say, Klingon. But for the average tourist, it might be a tad more challenging than ordering a burger in Kansas.
But hey, challenge is good, right? Makes things interesting. Now, Russian is also pretty widely spoken in Ukraine, especially in certain regions because of history and all that. So, you might hear both.
Oh yes, the old language double whammy. Just when you think you've mastered, you realize you should have learned it instead. Oops, it's like linguistic two for one deal, whether you wanted it or not.
And what about English? You know, the language of the internet pop songs and questionable action movies. English proficiency in Ukraine is, well, it's growing. Let's say that kindly.
Growing is diplomatic. Let's just say you might find English speakers in touristy spots, hotels, maybe some younger folks in the cities. But wander off the beaten path, and you might be relying heavily on gestures and a very patient translation app.
True. Ukrainian people are generally super helpful, I've heard. Even if they don't speak English fluently, they'll try their best to understand you, maybe mime things out, or find someone who does. That's the spirit. Ooh, that's the spirit.
Oh, absolutely. Hospitality is a universal language, and Ukrainians are known for it. But let's be realistic. If you're planning to live there, learn at least some basic Ukrainian. Or Russian. Or maybe both.
Bonus points for multilinguals. Now, let's hop across the ocean to the good old US of A. Land of the free, home of, well, mostly English, right?
Mostly is the key word there, Mira. Officially, the US doesn't actually have an official language at the federal level. Crazy, huh? It's like saying our official bird is birds.
No, official language. That's a surprise. But everyone speaks English, right? What? You can pretty much get by anywhere with just English?
And that we can conquer that. For the most part, yes. English is the de facto national language, absolutely dominant in business, government, education, pop culture. If you speak English, you're generally golden in most of the US.
But what about all the other languages? I know the US is super diverse, lots of immigrants, different communities.
Bingo. The US is a linguistic melting pot, or maybe a salad bowl is a better metaphor these days. You'll hear Spanish everywhere, especially in the southwestern Florida. Chinese, Vietnamese, Korean, Tagalog, Hindi. The list goes on and on. Wow.
Spanish is huge in the US, isn't it? Like, almost a second language in some places.
Absolutely. Millions of native Spanish speakers, huge Spanish language media market. You can often find signs and services in both English and Spanish. In Miami, you might even hear more Spanish than English sometimes.
So, in the US, you might not have a language barrier because almost everyone speaks some English. And if not, there's probably someone nearby who speaks Spanish?
Pretty much. Unless you wander into a very specific community where a less common language is dominant, you'll find someone who speaks English or Spanish. And if all else fails, there's always pointing and gesturing. Humans are resourceful like that.
Human ingenuity at its finest. So, for tourists, the US is probably a breeze language-wise. Ukraine might be a little more adventurous.
Adventurous is another kind way of putting it. In the US, language is rarely going to be a major obstacle for tourists or even expats. In Ukraine, it could be more of a factor, especially outside the main cities. But hey, learning a bit of Ukrainian could be a fun challenge.
And think of the cultural points you'd score. Saying thank you in Ukrainian, asking for directions. It shows you're making an effort, and people appreciate that everywhere, right? Oh?
Definitely can talk about that. Definitely. Plus, it's always good for your brain to learn a new language. Keeps the cobwebs away. Although, sometimes I think my brain is just full of cobwebs anyway.
Near you comedian brain. So, overall, in terms of language barriers, the US is generally easier to navigate for English speakers, while Ukraine might require a bit more linguistic effort, but comes with its own rewards.
Spot on, Mira. US linguistically smooth sailing. Ukraine potentially a few waves, but you'll reach the shore eventually, maybe with a slightly better tan from the effort. And who knows, you might even pick up a cool new phrase or two along the way. Ah!
Love it. Language adventure in Ukraine, language ease in the US. Perfectly balanced as all things should be. And if you want to plan your language learning adventure, maybe check out Jet Off A. I have some tips and tricks. Just a thought.
Always gotta plug, Jet Off, eh? I don't you? Smart move. Mira, smart move. And hey, if you're watching this on YouTube, let us know in the comments which language you find more challenging to learn. If yeah.
Yes, comment below. And if you liked this linguistic jaunt, give us a like and subscribe. It's like saying thank you all in one click. Ooh, okay, Leah. Let's jump into cultural diversity and tolerance, comparing Ukraine and the United States. It's a big topic, right?
Diversity and tolerance, Mira? Sounds like a polite way of asking who's got the most interesting mix of people and who's better at pretending to get along?
Oh, Leo, you always find a way to put a funny spin on things. But seriously, it's fascinating to see how different countries handle bringing people together. Ukraine, for example, has a really interesting history and a mix of cultures. Oh.
Interesting history is code for complicated past. Mira, come on. Ukraine has been at the crossroads for centuries, hasn't it? Tossed around like a peer orgy at a festival. You've got influences from East and West, all mashed together.
And you can see it in their traditions, their languages, even their food. It's not just one flavor, it's like a whole buffet of cultural tastes. Wow.
A cultural buffet where some dishes might be spicier than others, perhaps. But yeah, historically, Ukraine has seen a lot of movement and mixing. Think Cossacks, different empires all leaving their mark.
And then you look at the United States, talk about a melting pot. It's practically the poster child for diversity, right? People from all over the globe, all in one place. Wow.
Melting pot, or more like a giant salad bowl where everyone is just served next to each other. America's got diversity dialed up to 11. You can find pretty much any culture you can imagine there, sometimes all on one block.
You can walk down the street and hear so many different languages, try foods from every corner of the world, experience festivals you'd never even heard of. Ooh.
Yeah, and sometimes you get that feeling like, am I still in America, or did I accidentally teleport? Especially in places like New York or California. It's a global village, but, you know, supersized and with more traffic.
But with all that diversity, tolerance becomes super important, right? How do these countries actually do it? Or try to anyway?
Try's the keyword, Mira. In Ukraine, tolerance in theory is there. They're trying to build a modern, inclusive society. But history and current events, they throw a few curveballs.
And in the US, you have this ideal of liberty and justice for all, but the reality is, it's always a work in progress. There are amazing moments of unity and acceptance. And then, well, less amazing moments. Whoa.
Less amazing moments is putting it mildly. America's tolerance journey is like a roller coaster, big highs and stomach dropping lows. You've got incredible progress in civil rights, then backlashes. It's a dynamic situation, to say the least.
You see different approaches. In Ukraine, maybe there's more of an emphasis on national unity now, given everything that's happening, but hopefully still respecting different cultural backgrounds.
National unity can be a double-edged sword, can it? Sometimes unity means everyone needs to be exactly like us, which isn't exactly diversity-friendly. But in Ukraine's case, you understand the need for everyone to pull together.
And in the US, you have this constant push and pull between celebrating individual cultures and trying to find common ground, a shared American identity. It's a balancing act.
A juggling act with flaming torches, maybe. Because defining American identity is like trying to nail jelly to a wall. Is it apple pie? Is it hip-hop? Is it saying y'all? It's all of it, and none of it, at the same time.
It's this beautiful, messy, complicated thing, isn't it? And I think both Ukraine and the US are trying to navigate this in their own ways, with their own unique challenges and strengths.
Beautifully messy. I like that, Mira. Maybe that's the best way to sum up cultural diversity and tolerance in a nutshell. Or a salad bowl, or a peer or jihi.
Well, whatever metaphor you prefer, it's definitely something to keep exploring and talking about. And maybe, just maybe, we can all learn a little something from each other.
Learn something from each other? Now, Mira, that's a truly optimistic thought. Maybe not optimistic, even for me. But hey, we can always hope, right? And maybe make a few jokes along the way.
Our current topic, we compare educational opportunities and language schools into countries. From literacy rates to innovative teaching methods. Let's see how Ukraine and the United States stack up.
Educational opportunities, huh? In the US? It's like you can get a degree in underwater basket weaving, if you really want to. I bet Ukraine has some cool, maybe slightly less specialized options.
Leo, you're eat-beasing already. But you're right. The US is known for variety. Speaking of basics, Ukraine actually boasts a super high literacy rate, like almost 100%. Wow. That surprises some folks. Huh.
Almost 100%. Wow. So, everyone in Ukraine is secretly a genius novelist or something? In the US, we're also pretty high up there, but maybe we're just really good at reading fast food menus. Mostly.
Oh yeah, very incorrigible. But seriously, in Ukraine, education has always been valued, you know. It's part of the culture. They have a strong academic tradition, especially in fields like, say, engineering and science.
Engineering and science in Ukraine, nice. In the US, we're all about innovation and startups that promise to revolutionize pet grooming. We definitely have a ton of universities, though. You could spend a lifetime just visiting college campuses in the US. Whoa!
Sheer number of universities in the US is mind-boggling. Ukraine, while smaller, has some really respected universities too, especially in places like Kyiv and Kharkiv. And let's not forget about language schools.
Language schools. Okay, in Ukraine, you're probably learning Ukrainian and Russian, right? Maybe Polish if you're feeling adventurous. It's like linguistic triple threat.
Ukrainian is the official language, of course. But Russian is also widely spoken, so being bilingual is pretty common there. And for foreigners wanting to learn there. And for foreigners wanting to learn those, there are definitely language schools in major Ukrainian cities.
In the US, language schools are everywhere, mostly for English as a second language, ESL. You can find them in any city, teaching English to people from all over the globe. It's like a giant language melting pot. Oh!
A language melting pot. I love that, Leo. And for Americans wanting to learn other languages, the US offers tons of options too, right? Like Spanish, Mandarin, French, you name it. Wow.
Oh yeah, you can learn pretty much any language in the US from Klingon to Elvish probably. Okay, maybe not Klingon, but close. The variety is insane. If you want to learn Ukrainian in the US, you can probably find a class somewhere even.
Educational opportunities galore in both places, just different flavors. Ukraine with its strong academic roots and bilingualism, and the US with its massive scale and variety. It really depends on what you're looking for. Ah!
Totally. So if you want to study rocket science in a place where everyone is secretly reading Tolstoy, maybe Ukraine is your spot. If you want to study like social media marketing for artisanal dog biscuits and have a million university options, go to the US.
Yo, dog biscuits again. But you make a point. For anyone watching on YouTube and trying to decide, check out Jet Off AI. We might have some more detailed comparisons there, right?
Definitely. Jet Off AI is your friend for all these country comparisons, folks. And if you're enjoying this podcast, don't forget to like and subscribe. It's educational and hilarious. What more could you want?
Like, subscribe, and maybe leave a comment about your own educational experiences. We'd love to hear them. Oh, and thanks again to Jet Off AI for making this podcast full.
Big shout out to Jet Off AI. They keep us caffeinated in podcasting. So, until next time, folks, keep learning and keep laughing. And maybe, just maybe, consider learning underwater basket weaving. You never know.
Alright, Leo. Let's talk about something everyone loves to complain about, no matter where they are the weather. Today we're tackling climate and seasonal conditions comparing Ukraine and the good ol' US of A.
Weather, huh? Yeah, because nothing says exciting podcast content like discussing precipitation patterns. But alright, Mira, let's see if we can make meteorology mildly amusing when we look at Ukraine versus the land of opportunity and unpredictable weather, the United States.
Unpredictable is right. But first, Ukraine. Think of it as having really distinct seasons. You get beautiful snowy winters like something out of a fairy tale, and then summers that are wonderfully warm and sunny. Ooh, perfect for, you know, enjoying life outside.
Fairy tale winters, you say? Right, the kind where you're shoveling snow up to your eyeballs and wondering if you'll ever see the sun again. But yeah, Ukraine is mostly continental, right? So you get those proper temperature swings. Unlike, say, Los Angeles, where seasons are basically slightly warmer and slightly less warm.
And spring and autumn in Ukraine? Just gorgeous. Think blooming flowers, golden leaves. Perfect for romantic strolls and taking a million photos for Instagram. Wow, it's that lovely in between time that's not too hot.
Romantic strolls in autumn. Sounds idyllic as long as you're not dodging rogue umbrellas during a sudden downpour. Now, the US, well, saying the US as a climate is like saying my jokes are occasionally funny. It's a massive understatement. We've got everything.
Tell me about it. You've got deserts baking in the sun, right? Like in Arizona? It's so hot there. I heard you can fry an egg on the sidewalk. Well, is that really true, Leo?
Fry an egg. Mirror, you could probably bake a whole cake on the sidewalk in Arizona in July. Then you hop over to Alaska and you're dealing with glaciers and polar bears complaining about the summer heat. It's climate chaos, beautifully packaged.
Climate chaos? I love that. But seriously, in Ukraine, you mostly know what you're getting, right? Like, winter will be cold, summer will be warmish. But in the US, you could have a blizzard in April and a heat wave in October. Whoa, it's like the weather is just messing with you.
Messing with you is an understatement. It's actively plotting against your wardrobe choices, Mira. You pack for spring in, say, Oklahoma, and you could experience all four seasons in a single week. Pack layers, my friend. Layers are your only defense against American weather anarchy.
Layer. So, in Ukraine, if you're e-visiting in winter, you definitely need a good warm coat, a hat, gloves, the whole snowy gear ensemble. It's all about embracing the cozy winter vibes.
Cozy winter vibes, that's one way to put it when you're battling frostbite. But yeah, Ukrainian winters are legend. Think proper snow, ice skating on frozen rivers, all that classic winter wonderland stuff. And in the US, well, winter in Miami is basically just a slightly less intense summer.
Miami winter sounds confusing, but Ukrainian summers, I bet they are just perfect. Nice and warm, long sunny days, perfect for picnics and swimming in the Black Sea. Oh.
Black Sea swimming sounds lovely, as long as you avoid accidentally ingesting any Black Sea mysteries. But yeah, Ukrainian summers are generally pretty pleasant. Hot, but not melt your face off hot like some parts of the US can get. We have humidity that can make you feel like you're living in soup.
Humidity soup. Ew. Ukraine sounds much more comfortable. But then again, the US has those amazing autumns in New England, right? The fall foliage? It's supposed to be incredible, wow.
New England fall foliage. Yeah, it's basically nature's Instagram filter come to life. Beautiful, sure, but also attracts hordes of leaf peepers clogging up all the roads. Ukraine has its own autumn beauty, though, I'm sure. Golden fields of wheat, maybe?
Golden fields, yes. And beautiful forests turning all shades of red and gold. It's really picturesque. Perfect for a relaxing getaway and just enjoying nature's beauty. You should check out some photos on Jet AI. They probably have amazing shots.
Picturesque and relaxing until the mosquitoes come out to feast on your blood. But yeah, you'll check out Jet AI. You'll check out Jet AI, maybe find some less mosquito-y photos. The US definitely has its own natural beauty too. From the Grand Canyon to Yosemite, climate zones for every taste. Even if some of those tastes are for extreme heat or bone-chilling cold.
So, it really depends what kind of climate you prefer, doesn't it? If you like distinct seasons and a more predictable weather pattern, maybe Ukraine is for you.
And if you like your weather to be a complete and utter surprise every single day, and you enjoy the thrill of potentially experiencing a tornado, hurricane, earthquake, and blizzard all in the same week, well, then the US is definitely your chaotic climate playground. Don't forget to like and subscribe if you enjoyed this weather report gone slightly off the rails. You can find more comparisons like this on our YouTube channel.
And if you're planning a trip to either Ukraine or the US, definitely check out Jet Off AI for travel tips. They can probably even help you pack for that unpredictable US weather.
Right, Jet Off AI, your personal weather wizard and travel guru. Roll into one. So whether you prefer fairy tale winters or climate chaos, there's a country for you. Just choose wisely. Unpack accordingly. On that note, I think I need another coffee to consummate of global weather patterns.
Coffee sounds perfect. And maybe a warm coat, just in case that climate chaos comes knocking. Ooh, by listeners. All right, Leo, let's dive into something delicious. We're talking food culture and nutritional alternatives, and I am suddenly hungry. Ooh, Ukraine versus the United States. It's like comparing your NYKY to, well, maybe apple pie.
VRNYKY to apple pie, Mira. That's apt, I guess. Though, picturing a food fight with those two is less friendly banter and more pastry projectile warfare. But yeah, food. Let's see if we can digest this topic.
Oh, pastry projectiles. Now you're talking my language. But seriously, think about Ukrainian food. It's all about hearty, comforting dishes, right? Like if food was a hug, it would be borscht. It's practically a national treasure.
Borscht, the crimson hug of Eastern Europe. True. And you can't swing a beat in Ukraine without hitting a solid fan. That cured pork fat, it's practically a religion there. Though, I'm not sure my arteries are ready to convert.
Okay, maybe not my everyday breakfast, but you can't deny it's iconic. And then there's chicken kive. That buttery, garlicky explosion when you cut into it. Wow, it's pure deliciousness.
Chicken kive. Culinary landmine of molten butter and garlic. Effective at both satisfying hunger and clearing out vampires. In the US, though, iconic food as well. A supersized burger and fries. Or maybe a hot dog that's been through more processing than a tax return.
Oh, Leo, you're so dramatic. Okay, yes, we have our larger-than-life portions in the US. But we also have amazing food scenes. Think farm-to-table freshness in California, spicy Cajun flavors in Louisiana, and in deep dish pizza in Chicago.
Deep dish pizza, or a casserole pretending to be pizza? Philosophical question for the ages. But you're right, the US is a melting pot, even in the kitchen. You can find pretty much any cuisine on Earth, often within a single city block. It's less a culture and more a culinary buffet of global proportions.
A culinary buffet. I love that. It's like in the US. You can have tacos for breakfast, sushi for lunch, and pasta for dinner, all without batting an eye. Ooh, talk about dietary diversity.
Dietary diversity leading to dietary bewilderment for some, perhaps. All that choice, it's enough to give you menu anxiety. In Ukraine, choices are a bit simpler. You go to grandma's, you get what grandma makes, and you eat it. Or face the wrath of the babushka.
Grandma's cooking. The ultimate comfort food, no matter where you are. But you know, even in Ukraine, things are changing. More and more people are interested in healthy eating, organic food, and all that jazz. It's not just borscht and solo anymore.
Organic borscht and gluten-free solo. The future is weird, Mira. But yeah, health trends are global. In the US, it's like a constant nutritional pendulum swing. 1 minute it's all about kale smoothies. The next it's Kate or bacon cheeseburgers. It's exhausting to keep up.
Kale smoothies. I tried one once. It tasted green. But you're right. The US is obsessed with the latest diet fads. Remember the grapefruit diet? Or the cabbage soup diet? Oops. We'll try anything to be healthy, even if it means only eating one thing.
The dedication to dietary extremes in the US is impressive in a slightly terrifying way. It's like nutritional bungee jumping. In Ukraine, maybe it's less about fad diets and more about seasonal eating, using what's fresh and local from the garden to the table.
Yes, seasonal eating is huge in Ukraine. Summer is all about fresh vegetables and fruits. Berries galore. Oh, winter. Bring on the pickled everything. Pickled cucumbers, pickled tomatoes, pickled well. We pickle it.
Pickled everything. The Slavic solution to surviving winter. Efficient, if not entirely friendly to your gut flora. But back to the US. The nutritional alternatives part of this topic, it's like a whole industry. Gluten-free, dairy-free, taste-free,
Taste-free. Leo, you're killing me. But seriously, the US market for free from foods is massive. It's like, if you have any dietary restriction, there are a million options for you. It's amazing, really. Wow.
1 million options often costing $1 million, it feels like. But yeah, if you're allergic to air in the US, you can probably find a specially formulated air-free meal replacement bar. In Ukraine, maybe nutritional alternatives are more about resourceful substitutions? Like, if you don't have meat, use mushrooms. If you don't have wheat, use buckwheat. Yeah.
Useful substitutions, exactly. Ukrainian cooking is all about making the most of what you have. It's about flavor and tradition, not necessarily about avocado toast trends. Though, I bet you can find avocado toast in Kyiv now.
Avocado toast has achieved global domination, Mira. It's probably on the menu at space stations by now. But yeah, Ukraine tradition, resourcefulness. US innovation, excess, to very different culinary approaches.
Innovation and excess versus tradition and resourcefulness, I like that. It's a good way to sum it up. Though, both countries have amazing desserts. Think Ukrainianness. Why are NYKY those sweet cheese pancakes? Oh, an American cheesecake. Brownies? Donuts the size of your head.
Donuts the size of your head. Peak American dessert. Though, cheesecake is a respectable contender. SY or NYKY, yeah, those are good. Less likely to induce a sugar coma, perhaps. But both countries definitely have a sweet tooth. No arguing there.
Definitely a sweet tooth. So, if you're in Ukraine, get ready for hearty, comforting, traditional food. And if you're in the US, prepare for everything. From every corner of the globe. And in every dietary form imaginable. Wow.
Ukraine culinary comfort blanket. US culinary choose your own adventure. Both valid, both delicious in their own way. Just maybe pack some antacids if you're eating up that American buffet.
Antacids and maybe some stretchy pants. But hey, that's all part of the delicious adventure, right? And you know what else is an adventure? Checking out Jet Off AI to plan your next food tour. Just saying. Ooh.
小外星本力conquer conquer. Smooth, but yeah. Jet Off AI, your portal to planning pastry projectile free food adventures. Or just, finding a decent restaurant. Whatever floats your borscht boat. And hey, if you're watching this on YouTube, tell us in the comments via your NYKY or apple pie. Let the food fight commence.
Our current topic, we compare the historical, cultural, and artistic values of two countries. From ancient landmarks to thriving art scenes and deep-rooted traditions, both Ukraine and the United States have so much to offer. It's like comparing a really old, beautifully embroidered tapestry with a vibrant modern pop art piece.
Tapestry versus pop art. I like that, Mira. Though, if we're talking tapestries, Ukraine's got those embroidered Russian YKS, those aren't just cloths. They're like stories woven in thread, right? In the US, maybe our tapestries are more like quilts made from old jeans and band turts. Equally story-filled, just different.
And Ukraine's history is, let's be honest, epic and sometimes a little bit tragic, isn't it? Centuries of empires rising and falling, Cossacks galloping across the steppes. And then, more recent dramatic events. It's like a historical drama series with a very long run.
Long run is an understatement. Ukraine's been around the block a few times, hasn't it? Meanwhile, the US is the new kid on the historical block, relatively speaking. We're like, hey, we're only a few hundred years old, but look at all the stuff we've crammed in. It's like we speed ran history.
She ran history. That's a perfect Leosm. But seriously, that newness in the US also means a different kind of cultural landscape. It's this amazing melting pot, right? You get influences from everywhere: Europe, Africa, Asia, Latin America, all mixed together like a giant, delicious, slightly chaotic salad. Whoa.
Chaotic salad, yes. And sometimes that salad gets a bit spicy. But you're right, that mixes the US's cultural superpower. Ukraine, on the other hand, has this really strong, distinct cultural identity, shaped by its unique history and Eastern European roots. It's like a beautifully crafted, very specific recipe, passed down for generations.
Oh, and let's talk art. Ukrainian art, especially folk art, is just bursting with color and symbolism. Those Paseki eggs, for example, they're not just pretty Easter eggs, they're miniature masterpieces with ancient meanings. It's like every egg tells a story. Wow.
Eggs that tell stories. That's way more impressive than my artistic output, which usually peaks at stick figures. American art, though it's as diverse as our salad, from jazz and blues born from African-American experiences to Hollywood blockbusters and modern art that, well, sometimes I just stare at it and go, is this art?
Leo, you're so honest. But that's the beauty of American art, isn't it? It's constantly pushing boundaries, constantly questioning what art even is. It's like it's always in a playful argument with itself. Ukrainian art, while also evolving, often feels more connected to its traditions, to its soul, you know?
Connected to its soul, I like that, Mira. It's like Ukrainian art is saying, this is who we are, this is where we come from, while American art is shouting, look at all the things we can be all at once. Both are powerful, just in totally different ways. It's like comparing a soulful folk song to a stadium rock anthem.
Stadium rock anthem versus soulful folk song. We are on fire with the analogies today, Leo. And architecture too. Think of the stunning golden domed churches in Ukraine, so ornate, so breathtaking. They whisper stories of centuries past. Oh.
Versus the US skyline, which screams we build tall, and we build shiny. It's all glass and steel and ambition reaching for the sky. Ukrainian architecture feels like it's rooted in the earth, while American architecture is like trying to escape gravity.
You ain't killing me, Leo. But it's so true. And even in literature, you see these differences. Ukrainian literature often delves into themes of identity, resilience, and history, reflecting the country's journey. It's deep, often poetic, sometimes heartbreaking.
While American literature, well, we've got everything from sprawling epics to gritty realist sci-fi that makes you question reality. It's like we're exploring every possible human experience, in every genre imaginable. It's a literary buffet, wow.
Literary buffet. Okay, I'm officially hungry now, Leo. But you're right. Both countries offer such rich and diverse historical, cultural, and artistic landscapes. It's not about which is better. It's about appreciating the unique beauty and depth of each.
Exactly, Mira. It's like saying, should I listen to classical music or hip-hop? Why choose? Enjoy both. Ukraine and the US are both cultural powerhouses, just playing different instruments in the global orchestra. And you can explore both on Jet Off AI if you're curious to learn more, folks.
Great point, Leo. Jet Off AI is your cultural passport to the world. And if you enjoyed our little cultural tour today, don't forget to like this podcast on YouTube. It helps us keep these conversations going and maybe even encourages Leo to learn how to draw more than stick figures.
Hey, my stick figures of character. But yeah, like and subscribe, folks. And maybe leave a comment, tell us what's your favorite piece of Ukrainian or American art? We're always curious to hear.
And thank you for joining us on this cultural adventure. Until next time, keep exploring and keep laughing. Bye for now. Ooh! Alright, Leo. Let's chat about something truly gorgeous now, natural beauty. We're talking Ukraine and the United States. And honestly, both are like supermodels of scenery in their own way.
Supermodels of scenery, Mira? Is that your professional geographical term now? But okay, Ilbai, let's see if these scenery supermodels can actually walk the runway, or if they'll trip over a misplaced mountain range.
Fair, runway ready. Think about Ukraine first, it's not just sunflowers and golden wheat fields, though those are pretty iconic, right? But you've got the Carpathian Mountains, Leo. Majestic, mysterious, perfect for hiking and maybe spotting a Yeti.
Yeah, he's in the Carpathians. Mira, are you sure you're not mixing up Ukraine with, like, Nepal? But yes, the Carpathians are nice, I guess, but still respectable. Cousin of the Alps, which are basically the Hemsworth brothers of mountains tall, rugged, and everyone knows them.
Hence, with Brothers of Mountains. I love it. But don't underestimate the Carpathians, Leo. They have this incredible, untouched feel, with these fairy tale forests on crystal clear lakes. Oh, it's like stepping into a storybook, maybe one where a friendly dragon lives in a cozy cave. Not a scary one.
Friendly dragons are always a plus, Mira. But storybooks aside, the US has national parks that are practically nature documentaries come to life. Yellowstone with its geysers that are up like the earth is having a fizzy drink. Yosemite's granite cliffs that make you feel like an ant. In the Grand Canyon, well, it's grand for a reason, right?
Grand for a reason, exactly. But Ukraine has its own kind of grand. Think about the Crimean Mountains, for example. They plunge right into the Black Sea, creating these stunning coastal landscapes. Imagine hiking along those trails, breathing in the sea air, maybe even finding a hidden cove for a swim. Ugh.
Hidden coves are nice, I admit. But the US coastline is basically a nature buffet. You want dramatic cliffs? California's got big Sur. Sandy beaches. Florida and Hawaii are called rugged and rocky. Maine and Oregon, take your pick. I don't even get me started on how skits like nature went wild and just threw everything amazing into one giant state.
Okay, the US coastline is impressive. I give you that. Ukraine has the Black Sea and the Sea of Azov. Think of the long sandy beaches, perfect for a relaxing summer vacation. And the sunsets over the Black Sea. So romantic? So romantic. Maybe you could even write a poem about it, Leo.
A poem about a sunset? Mira, you wound me. That's a bit too sincere for my brand, isn't it? But speaking of water, the US also has the Great Lakes, which are so huge they feel like oceans, and the Mississippi River, which has seen more history than most countries have years. Ukraine has the Dnieper, which is important historically, sure, but it's no Mississippi, is it?
The Dnieper is the heart of Ukraine, Leo. It flows right through Kyiv, and it's so wide and majestic. Wow! And don't forget the Danube Delta, part of which is in Ukraine. It's a biodiversity hotspot, full of birds and wildlife. It's like a watery wonderland.
Watery wonderland, okay. I'm picturing ducks and dreeds. The US has the Everglades, which is like a swampy wonderland, but with alligators. Well, and for forests, we have the redwood forest in California, where trees are so tall you feel like you're in a different dimension. Ukraine is forests, yes, but redwood forests, not so much.
It's a huge area of forests and wetlands in northern Ukraine, with unique wildlife and these ancient, untouched forests. It's a really special and important ecosystem, and maybe even a little mysterious, like a secret forest kingdom.
Secret Forest Kingdom. I'm sensing a theme with you and fairy tales, Mira. But the US also has the Great Plains, which are vast and open, and the deserts of the Southwest, which are, well, they're deserts, but beautiful in their own, spiky, sun-baked way. Ukraine has the steppe, which is also vast and open, but less spiky, I suppose.
Our steppe is beautiful in its own way, Leo. It's this endless sea of grass, with wildflowers in the spring and these incredible wide-open skies. Wow. And Ukraine has these unique landscapes too, like the Ekatov Canyon, which is called Little Crimea because it looks like a miniature mountain range. Ooh.
Little Crimea? That's cute. We have the actual Grand Canyon, Mira. And Bryce Canyon with its hoodoos that look like alien sculptures. Anza, a national park with its towering sandstone cliffs. I'm just saying, when it comes to dramatic landscapes, the US is kind of a little too boastful.
Maybe just a tiny bit boastful, Leo. But both countries have incredible natural beauty, just in different ways. Ukraine is maybe more gentle and romantic, with its rolling hills and forests, while the US is more epic and dramatic, with its towering mountains and canyons.
Gentle and romantic versus epic and dramatic, I like that, Mira. So, for listeners trying to decide between a Ukrainian nature trip and a US one, it's like choosing between a quiet coffee date and a blockbuster action movie, right?
Exactly. It depends on your mood. Both are amazing, just different flavors of amazing. And hey, if you want to see more of these amazing landscapes, don't forget to check out Jettle. And if you liked our chat, give us a like and subscribe on YouTube. Oh!
Yes, folks, like and subscribe. Because who knows, maybe next time Mira will be telling you about the Yeti-filled Ukrainian Himalayas. And for all your travel planning, Jeddah Fai is your friend. Until next time, keep exploring.
Okay, Leo. So speaking of moving around and being active, let's pivot to something totally different now, shall we? Let's talk about getting our sweat on.
Sweat on, Mira. You make it sound like we're about to wrestle alligators?
Well, maybe not alligators, but how about we dive into sports, activity, and adventure options in our two countries today? Ooh, ready to compare Ukraine and the United States in this arena?
Ukraine and the US, huh? From borscht to burgers. And now from what? Balearic ball to baseball? All right, Mira, lead the charge. Tell me, what kind of athletic madness awaits in Ukraine?
Madness is a strong word, Leo. But definitely some unique and cool stuff. You know, football, or soccer as some people call it, is huge in Ukraine. Oh, wow. Like seriously HUG. Dynamo Kyiv and Shakhtar Donetsk are like rock stars there.
Rock stars, huh? Well, in the US, we have something called American football. It's like regular football, but with more pads, helmets, and dramatic injuries. Our rock stars are more like bone-crunching titans.
Titans intense, but Ukraine also has a massive boxing scene. Think Klitschko brothers. Those guys are legends, Leo. LEG, Wow, they put Ukraine on the global boxing map.
Oh, boxing. Yeah, we've got a few boxers in the US too. But you know what's really big here? Basketball. LeBron James, Michael Jordan names that even people who don't watch sports know. Wow, basketball's practically a religion here, Mira.
I love it, okay? Basketball's cool. But have you ever heard of rhythmic gymnastics in Ukraine? Ooh, our gymnasts are like floating poetry in motion. And a bossa nova, for example, just breathtaking.
Floating poetry, huh? In the US, we're more about fast cars and loud engines. NASCAR, baby. Vroom. It's basically driving in circles really fast. But trust me, it's thrilling. It's thrilling. Maybe not as poetic as floating gymnasts?
Maybe not. But you know, Ukraine also has some amazing natural landscapes for adventure. Think Carpathian Mountains for hiking and skiing. Wow, fresh air, stunning views, it's incredible.
Mountains. We've got mountains. The Rockies, the Sierras, the Appalachians, we've got more mountains than you can shake a stick at. Hiking, skiing, snowboarding, rock climbing, we practically invented outdoor adventure.
Invented it? Cheeky! But okay, you have mountains. But have you kayaked down the Dniester River in Ukraine? It's so peaceful and beautiful, gliding through nature. Really calms the soul.
Kayaking? Pleasant. But have you ever surfed the waves in Hawaii or California?
Oh, sharks. Okay, maybe I prefer the calmer rivers of Ukraine then. But for something truly unique, try ice fishing on a frozen Ukrainian lake in winter. It's an experience, and you might actually catch something.
Ice fishing. Sounds cold. We do it in Minnesota, but honestly, I prefer something warmer. Like say whitewater rafting down the Colorado River. Whoa, that's an adventure. You get soaked. You might even lose a pal. Fun for the whole Brave family.
Losing a pal sounds like a Leo-style adventure. But seriously, for a different kind of thrill in Ukraine, you can explore Chernobyl exclusion zone tours. Well, it's eerie historical and definitely an adventure of sorts.
Chernobyl tours, dark tourism. Intriguing, but maybe a bit too radioactive for my taste. I prefer my adventures a little less cloud-decked. How about Disney World in Florida? That's adventure for the whole family, rolling fours. Parade's Mickey Mouse pure, unadulterated, commercialized fun.
Commercialized fun. You've got away with words, Leo. But in Ukraine, we also have vibrant festivals and cultural events. Like, try attending a traditional Ukrainian folk festival with dancing and singing. Ooh, it's so joyful and full of energy.
Festivals? Yeah, we do festivals. But have you heard of Burning Man in Nevada? Oh, it's something else entirely. Art cars, fire dancers, and a giant wooden effigy that burns to the ground. It's an experience, Mira. A very American experience.
Burning Man sounds intense and very burny. In more of a flower crown invoked and kind of festival goer. But hey, both countries have amazing options, right? From serene kayaking to sharky surfing, from snowy mountains to Burning Men, something for everyone.
Exactly! Whether you want to watch poetry in motion gymnasts or bone-crunching football titans, whether you crave icy lakes or burning effigies, both Ukraine and the US have got you covered. It just depends if you prefer your adventure with borscht or a burger.
Or maybe borscht and dear burger. Why choose? Oh, anyway, if you're watching this on YouTube, let us know in the comments. What's your favorite sport or adventure from Ukraine or the US? We're curious.
Yeah, drop a comment. And if you're planning any adventures inspired by this chat, maybe check out Jet Off AI for some travel tips. Might help you avoid losing your paddle in the Colorado River or accidentally joining a radioactive tour in Chernobyl.
Or maybe find the best place for borscht after your Ukrainian kayaking trip. Oh. Jet Off AI, it's got you covered. Ante, if you're enjoying our chat, don't forget to like and subscribe. It's like giving us a virtual high five for comparing sports.
Virtual high five accepted. And now, Mira, after all this talk about adventure, I think I need another coffee. Adventure fuel, you know?
Our current topic, we compare nightlife and entertainment venues into countries. From electric clubs to captivating theaters and festive events, we reveal their, nighttime vibes. Ooh, so Leo, when you think Ukraine and United States battling it out after dark, what's the first crazy image that pops into your head?
Ukraine versus the US nightlife. Suddenly I'm picturing a disco ball made of pierogies versus a giant hamburger DJ booth. Maybe not too far off. Seriously though, Mira, are we talking about fueled dance-offs with what? Exactly? Me, Mira. Sing to country music.
Hey, hamburger DJ bass. I love it. Okay, maybe not exactly pierogi discos, but imagine Ukrainian clubs with that Eastern European energy meets American all-out party mode. Oh, it's like comparing a wild, spontaneous bonfire party to a perfectly planned laser light show. Ugh, which one do you think brings more? Shall we say surprises?
Surprises? Well, in Ukraine, a surprise might be ending up in a karaoke bar at 4 a.m. singing off-key folk songs you don't understand. In the US, a surprise might be accidentally walking into a themed bar where everyone's dressed as pirates. Both have their own brand of unexpected, wouldn't you say?
Pirate bar surprise. Suddenly I want to go to America just for that. Imagine Leo, us in full pirate gear, ordering rum and grog, yelling ahoy matey at the bartender. But Ukraine nightlife, it's got that raw, underground vibe, right? Like you stumble into a hidden basement BM, live band dancing till sunrise, and everyone's your new best friend. Wow.
In Kyiv, you could be walking past a totally unassuming door that leads to some multi-level club playing techno so loud your feelings vibrate. Oh, meanwhile, in New York or Miami, you might find yourself in a rooftop bar, paying $20 for a cocktail, and the surprise is realizing you're surrounded by people taking selfies. Different kinds of basements.
$20 cocktails and selfie zombies. Ouch. Aaron, Mediterranean price is definitely win in the wallet-friendly surprise category. But America, they do go big, right? Massive stadiums for concerts, Broadway shows that are pure spectacle, theme parks that stay open late. It's like they took entertainment and supersized it. Oh.
Supersized is the American way, Mira. Think Vegas. Think Disney World fireworks. It's all about the spectacle, the production value, the wow factor. While Ukraine, on the other hand, might be more about the raw energy, the authentic experience, the word to have a good time without all the fuss factor.
I love that. It's like Ukraine nightlife is saying, come as you are, dance like nobody's watching, and maybe spill some vodka. It's all good. It's all America is like. Dress to impress, make reservations, and prepare for sensory overload. Both sound amazing in their own way, right?
Totally different flavors of amazing mirror. If you want glitz, glamour, and to feel like you're in a movie, America's got you covered. Wow! If you want to feel like you've discovered some cool secret and are part of a genuine, unpretentious scene, Ukraine might be more your style. It's like choosing between a Hollywood blockbuster and an indie film festival.
Indie film festival nightlife. I'm picturing it now. Cozy cafes turning into impromptu kind of slams, street musicians jamming till dawn, and maybe a spontaneous flash mob and self in a park. Oh, Ukraine, you're making my heart sing. But okay, you've got those legendary music venues, right? From jazz clubs in New Orleans to rock arenas in LA. Music history was made in those places. Wow.
Music history indeed. The US practically invented genres. Blues, jazz, rock and roll, hip-hop. So yeah, you go to New York, you can hit up a legendary jazz club in Harlem. You go to Music Legends, you can see country music legends. You go to Seattle, you can trace the grunge scene. Ukraine's music scene is definitely cool and growing. But the US has that deep, ingrained musical legacy.
Musical legacy versus Pierre Roigi power ballads? Okay, maybe not quite the same level of global fame, but Ukrainian music is so soulful and unique. Those folk melodies, mixed with modern beats, it's got that emotional punch. And live music venues in Ukraine, they're getting more and more amazing, right? Cool clubs, festivals popping up well.
Ukraine's definitely got a vibrant, up-and-coming scene, especially in Kyiv and Lviv. Indie bands, electronic music festivals, and yeah, those folk-inspired sounds you mentioned. It's a scene with a lot of heart and a lot of potential. Ooh, the US scene is just massive and established. It's like comparing a cool little boutique to a sprawling shopping mall. Both have good stuff, just different scales.
Shopping mall versus boutique, I'm suddenly craving Pierre boutique shopping. But seriously, what about theater and performing arts? Broadway in New York is like THE theater capital, right? But Ukraine has those stunning opera houses and ballets so elegant. Wow.
Broadway versus ballet again, different strengths. Broadway is Broadway. Big splashy musicals, celebrity names, tickets that cost a fortune. Ukraine's opera and ballet are renowned for their artistry, their tradition, and you can see world-class performances without needing to sell your kidney for a ticket. For sheer spectacle, maybe Broadway wins, but for pure art, Ukraine holds its own.
Pure art? versus sparkly costumes and jazz hands. Okay, both have their charms. And what about just casual hangout spots? Like, if you just want to grab a drink and chill with friends. American sports bars are legendary, right? Giant screens, beer towers, but Ukraine has those cozy pubs and cafes so charming. Ooh,
Sports bars versus cozy pubs, yeah. America does the sports bar thing like nowhere else. Every town has at least 10 on serving mountains of fried food. Oh, Ukraine's pubs and cafes are often ESP and more about conversation, a relaxed atmosphere. A relaxed atmosphere. Again, it's about what you're in the mood for. Do you want to yell at a TV strangers? Or have a chill chat with friends over a beer?
yelling at a TV versus chill chat sim. Sometimes yelling at a TV sounds therapeutic. But those Ukrainian cafes, especially in that affair like stepping back in time. Candlelight, old wooden furniture, strong coffee so romantic. American cafes are more about laptops and pumpkin spice lattes. Oops.
Laptops and pumpkin spice lattes pretty accurate for a lot of American cafes. But yeah, Ukrainian cafes, especially in Lviv, have that old world charm, that European café ultra vibe. The American cafes are efficient. You get your WFI, you get back to work. Different purposes, different vibes.
Efficient caffeine versus romantic candlelit coffee. Okay, Ukraine is winning my heart with the romance factor. America, they know how to throw a party, right? Festivals, street fairs, parades, 4th of July fireworks, Mardi Gras madness, they go all out for celebrations. Wow.
America definitely knows how to celebrate. Big loud, and often a little over the top. Parades, festivals, county fairs, you name it. Ukraine has some festivals and celebrations, of course, but maybe they're a bit more grounded. Less about the massive spectacle, more about community and tradition.
Community and tradition versus giant inflatable Uncle Sam's and hot dog beating contests. Both sound uniquely interesting. So Leo, if we had to choose Ukrainian nightlife for a soul-searching, underground adventure, and American nightlife for a sensory overload, star-studded extravaganza? Something like that.
Yeah, Mira, that's a pretty good summary. Ukraine nightlife intimate, authentic, maybe a little rough around the edges, but full of heart. American nightlife big, bold, polished, and ready to blow your mind and maybe your budget. Both have their own kind of magic. Just depends on what kind of magic you're looking for.
Magic parodies versus magic hamburgers. Been still stuck on that image. Okay, maybe we need to invent a fusion nightclub PO or orgy burger disco. We could be onto something huge. Leo.
Pierre Orgy Burger Disco. Actually, Mira, in this crazy world, that just might work. But for now, let's just stick to comparing countries. And maybe, just maybe, plan a nightlife research trip to both Ukraine and the US. For, science.
Suddenly, nightlife research sounds like the most important job in the world. Leo, pack your dancing shoes and your appetite for adventure. Ukraine and America, here we come. Wow. This is going to be epic. Our current topic, we compare family-friendly environments and children's activities into countries. From welcoming parks to engaging museums, let's explore which country rolls out the red carpet for families.
Oh, family-friendly, you say? Does that mean places where kids can run wild and parents can pretend to relax while actually chasing after them? Let's see if Ukraine or the US wins the Parental Sanity Saver Award.
Yeah, exactly, Lear. Think less sanity saver and more joy multiplier. Let's kick off with Ukraine. They have some absolutely gorgeous parks, right? Like really green and spacious. Perfect for letting the little ones burn off that extra energy.
Spacious, yes, sometimes maybe a bit too natural for my taste. I mean, you might find a charmingly rustic swing set next to, well, let's just say evidence of nature. But hey, keeps things authentic, right? In the US, parks are often meticulously manicured, almost like they're afraid of a single leaf out of place.
True, Ukraine parks can be a bit more wild child in their vibe, which can be fun. And they often have these quirky, hand-built playgrounds that are just so charming. Remember that wooden dragon slide we saw pictures of? Wow!
Oh, the dragon. Yes, very Instagrammable if you can get your kid to stop screaming with delight long enough to pose. US playgrounds, they're all about safety regulations, aren't they? Soft surfaces everywhere, equipment that looks like it was designed by engineers, not artists. Efficient safe, maybe a tad less whimsical.
Whimsical is a great word for Ukrainian playgrounds. And think about their puppet theaters. Those are just magical for kids. And often super affordable, making it easy for families to enjoy a cultural outing without breaking the bank. Ooh.
Puppet theaters, yes. Very cute. Yes, very cute. Though trying to follow a Ukrainian puppet show with zero language skills, that's an adventure in itself. In the US, we're all about screen time, aren't we? Giant movie theaters, amusement parks that are basically sensory overload. It's entertainment on a massive scale. Sometimes a bit much for the little ones, maybe.
Ooh. Sensory overload is definitely a risk in the US theme parks. But they are undeniably impressive. And Ukraine has its own kind of sensory feast in their traditional festivals and celebrations. Think of all the vibrant costumes, music, and street performances during holidays. Ooh, kids would be mesmerized.
Mesmerized or possibly slightly overwhelmed by the sheer volume of everything. US festivals, they're often more about consumerism, aren't they? Eh? Giant inflatable characters, braidable characters, more about buying stuff. Boots.
Maybe some US festivals lean towards shopping extravaganza a bit. But they also have amazing children's museums. Interactive exhibits that are genuinely educational and fun. I remember reading about one with a whole pretend city for kids to explore. Wow.
Pretend city's very clever. Keeps them occupied for hours, probably. Ukraine, they might have smaller, more locally focused museums, maybe less flashy, but often with really dedicated staff who are passionate about sharing their culture with kids. Think little folk museums with hands-on demonstrations.
Kids learn so much more when they can touch and experience things. And Ukraine's countryside is just begging to be explored with families. Hiking, picnics, visiting charming villages. It's also accessible and naturally family-friendly.
Accessible nature, yes, if you're okay with potentially encountering a few mosquitoes the size of small birds. US nature? Grand Canyon, Yosemite, Yellowstone. Majestic, but also often requires a car, permits, reservations, less spontaneous family adventure, more carefully planned expedition.
Expedition planning versus spontaneous village strolls. Both have their charm. And when it comes to just everyday family life, Ukraine has a lovely cafe culture where families are really welcomed. You see kids playing happily while parents relax and chat.
Cafe culture, yes. Very civilized. Very civilized. Though, try finding a cafe with decent Wi-Fi in some of the smaller Ukrainian towns, good luck with that. US cafe culture? Dr. Coffee stands, giant sugary drinks quick, convenient, maybe less about lingering and family time.
Doctor versus lingering chat. Interesting contrast. And thinking about safety, which is always top of mind for families. Both countries have areas that are very safe for families, and areas where you need to be a bit more aware. Right?
Awareness is key, always. Ukraine, you might be more concerned about, well, let's just say unpredictable situations in certain regions. Ouch. US safety concerns. More about urban areas, maybe? Traffic. Petty crime depends where you are, of course.
Exactly. It's all about location. Load for family accommodation. Both countries offer a range of options, from budget-friendly apartments to more luxurious family resorts. Though maybe luxury resort in Ukraine has a slightly different price point than in, say, Florida?
Different price points, definitely. Luxury in Ukraine might be more charming guest house with homemade breakfast luxury, rather than over-the-top, what's-the-die equipped luxury. US family resorts. They're like mini cities designed for kids, aren't they? Everything catered to families, sometimes almost too much.
That's a fun image, but maybe sometimes a bit contained. Ukraine offers a chance for families to experience a different culture, a different pace of life, maybe a bit more real life than a curated resort experience. Haha.
Real life, yes, with all its charming and sometimes slightly chaotic glory. US family vacations can be amazing, but they can also be expensive. Ukraine, you can have a fantastic family trip without emptying your entire bank account.
Budget-friendly family adventures. That's a big plus for Ukraine. And for families interested in history, Ukraine has so much to offer. From ancient sites to medieval castles, kids can actually see history come alive. Oh,
So I think family can conquer that. History come alive. Yes, see if you visit Chernobyl. Whoa, okay, maybe not exactly family fun, but definitely memorable. US history? More recent perhaps, but still fascinating? Think historical reenactments, living museums, less ancient ruins, more pilgrims and presidents.
pilgrims and presidents versus castles and Cossacks. Both offer unique historical perspectives for families. So, wrapping up, it sounds like Ukraine offers a more natural, cultural, and budget-friendly family experience, while the US might lean towards convenience, entertainment, and high-energy activities.
Sounds about right. Ukraine, for families who want a bit of off-the-beaten-path adventure, maybe a bit more rustic charm. US, for families who want all the bells and whistles, everything planned and organized, maybe a bit more predictable fun.
Predictable fun versus charming chaos. Both sound pretty wonderful in their own way. And for our listeners planning family trips, remember to check out Jet Fai for more travel inspiration. And if you enjoyed this comparison, give us a like on YouTube and subscribe for more country face falls. Oh,
Yes, like and subscribe. Or, as my kid would say, smash that like button. Though, maybe don't actually smash your screen. And definitely check out Jet Off. Not us the comedians.
true that, Leo. We just provide the comedic commentary. Thanks for tuning in, everyone, and happy family travels wherever you go. Bye for now.
Bye, folks. And remember, whether it's dragons or dinosaurs, make sure your family adventure is filled with laughter.
Our current topic, we compare LGBT-friendly atmospheres into countries, diving into inclusivity, legal protections, and social acceptance. From vibrant pride events to inspiring stories, let's see how Ukraine and the United States stack up. Ooh,
LGBT friendliness, huh? Sounds like we're about to compare a rainbow sprinkled donut to, well, let's just say a slightly less colorful pastry. Let's see if anyone gets a sugar rush from this topic.
oh, Leo. Always with the food analogies. But you're right. It's about more than just rainbows and glitter. Though those are fun too. We're talking about real lives, real rights, and real acceptance. So, let's start with Ukraine.
Ukraine, picture this: you're trying to rainbow in a field of sunflowers. Possible, but you might have to look a bit harder. Legally speaking, it's not exactly throwing a pride parade down Constitution Avenue.
Sunflowers are beautiful though. But yes, Ukraine, while wonderfully vibrant in many ways, isn't quite the LGBT rights champion of Europe. They've made some progress like decriminalizing homosexuality way back when, but
But way back when dial-up internet was still cool. Progress has been, shall we say, glacial in some areas. No same-sex marriage, no adoption rights. It's more like a don't ask, don't tell policy on a national scale.
ouch! Glacial is a polite way of putting it, Leo. But you know, they do have pride events. And Kai Pride is getting bigger each year. People are bravely showing up, showing their colors, and making their voices heard. Wow.
True, Hive Pride exists, which is a start. Think of it as a small but determined flower pushing through some pretty tough soil. But it's often met with, let's call it, enthusiastic disagreement from certain groups. Sometimes enthusiastic disagreement with tear gas.
Tear gas is definitely not rainbow friendly. But despite the challenges, the LGBT community in Ukraine is incredibly resilient and active. They're fighting for change, creating safe spaces, and building community. That's inspiring, wow.
Absolutely, resilience points for Ukraine. They're operating in a context where things aren't exactly handed to you on a silver platter. It's more like a DIY, grassroots movement. Admirable, but still facing uphill battles.
Now let's hop over to the United States. Think of it as a giant, sprawling garden with rainbows everywhere. Sometimes a little chaotic, but definitely colorful.
The US, yeah. The US is like the opposite end of the spectrum. From dawn task, dawn tell to love is love in a relatively short historical blink. You can get married, sometimes get adopted, and definitely get Sir Rainbow-themed everything during Pride Month.
Rainbow-themed everything. So true. From rainbow bagels to rainbow dog sweaters. America really commits to a theme, doesn't it? But that visibility and celebration is important. It shows acceptance, right? Oh.
Visibility, yes. Acceptance, it's complicated. Legally, sure, same-sex marriages nationwide, which is huge. But social acceptance? It varies wildly depending on where you are. San Francisco is not exactly rural Alabama, you know. Yeah.
Tell me about it. America is a HUG country, and you're going to find every shade of the rainbow, and maybe some less rainbow-eye shades too. But in many cities, especially on the coasts, the LGBT scene is thriving. Think of places like New York, LA, Miami. Wow.
Thriving, yes. And sometimes thriving with a hefty price tag. Living your best rainbow life in those cities can cost you a pretty penny. But yes, culturally, there's a massive difference. Pride parades are huge, means a massive difference. You see LGBT representation in media. Advertising, it's part of the cultural fabric now. Bah!
And that representation matters so much. Seeing yourself reflected in society, knowing you're not alone, that makes a real difference in people's lives. And in the US, you have a lot of legal protections, especially in employment and housing in many states. That's fantastic. Well,
Hey. The U.S. is a patchwork of laws when it comes to elders. So actively trying to roll back rights, which is not ideal.
oh, that's definitely a downside. It's not all sunshine and rainbows, even in the US. There's still discrimination, especially against transgender people, and hate crimes are still a serious problem.
Exactly. The U.S. has come a long way, but it's not some LGBT utopia. There's still work to be done, battles to be fought. And depending on the political climate, those battles can get pretty intense.
Intense indeed. So if you're an LGBT person thinking of moving, Ukraine and the US are very different destinations. Ukraine is still on a journey, facing significant hurdles, but with a strong and brave community pushing for change. And the US is a mixed bag, with amazing progress in some areas, but still a long way to go to achieve true equality for everyone, everywhere.
Aha! In a nutshell, Ukraine is like a seedling bravely sprouting, while the US is a sprawling garden that still needs some weeding and tending. Both have their own unique challenges and strengths, but they definitely offer very different experiences for LGBT individuals. And if you want to see like this, more comparisons like this, you know where to find us on YouTube and Jet Off AI.
Exactly. Don't forget to like and subscribe on YouTube if you enjoyed this comparison. And check out Jet Off AI for more insights into different countries. And maybe let us know in the comments, which country surprised you more in terms of LGBT friendliness? We'd love to hear your thoughts.
And if you're planning your next trip based on LGBT friendliness, maybe pack for both climate sunflowers and rainbows, just in case.
Our current topic, we compare hospitality and attitudes towards foreigners into countries, uncovering welcoming cultures and real expat experiences. Oh, it's like a travel adventure for the ears right here in the studio.
Yeah, welcoming cultures sounds like we're about to judge a hospitality contest. Are we giving out sashes and tiaras to the friendliest country? Because if so, I've got my judging panel monocle ready.
Oh, Leo, you're so cynical. But seriously, think about walking into a new place. In Ukraine, it's like stepping into a friend's home, even if you've never met them. I remember once I asked for directions in Kyiv, and this babushka not only showed me the way, but insisted I come in for borscht. Borscht! At 10 a.m. Wow!
Borscht at 10 a.m. That's intense hospitality. In the States, you're more likely to get a blank stare and a mumbled, Google Maps. Though, to be fair, sometimes you get someone who's overly helpful, like they're auditioning for a Friendliest American Award. It can be a bit much.
Friendliest American Award. I love it. But you know, the Ukrainian warmth. It's genuine. It's like they're happy you chose their country to be lost in. Oh. It's like, you're here. Welcome to the family.
Welcome to the family. Now eat this entire plate of salo. Yeah, Ukrainian hospitality, they feed you. That's their love language. In the US, hospitality is more like efficient. Welcome, here's your Wi-Fi password and a coupon for 10% off your next visit. Practical, you know.
Versatility. That's a new one. But it's true in Ukraine. It's less about efficiency and more about connection. Like, they want to know your story, offer you tea, and make sure you feel at home. Even if their home is a tiny apartment and your tea is instant coffee.
Instant coffee in the heart of gold. That's the Ukrainian motto, maybe. In the US, it's more like time is money, let's get down to business. Hospitality in a business suit, which is fine, I guess, if you're into that. But sometimes, you just want a babushki and some unsolicited borscht, you know?
Sometimes you need the borscht. It's like in Ukraine. They see you as a person first, a foreigner second. In the US, sometimes you feel like you're being processed as Tourist Unit 70 for B before they even ask your name. Oops.
Tourist Unit 70 for be accurate. Though, to give the US credit, they are good at customer service. If you complain in a restaurant, they'll bend over backwards to fix it. In Ukraine, complaining might just get you more borscht. Or maybe the babushka will pinch your cheek and say you're too skinny. Who knows?
Pinch your cheek and more borscht. It's a win-win. Oh, but that's the charm, right? That unpredictable personal touch. In the US, it's predictable. You know what to expect. Polite. Efficient, but maybe a little sterile.
Sterile hospitality. I like that. It's like a hospital, but with better coffee. Maybe. Okay, some hospitals have surprisingly good coffee now. Anyway, yeah, predictable. In the US, they have hospitality down to a science. In Ukraine, it's more of an art form. A slightly chaotic, or fueled art form.
That's going to be the title of this episode. But you're right. It's an art. It's an art. It's about making you feel genuinely cared for, even as a stranger. And that's a beautiful thing. Maybe we should all strive for a little more chaotic borscht art in our hospitality, wherever we are.
Chaotic borscht art. I'm still stuck on that. But yeah, maybe a little less Tourist Unit 70 for B and a bit more welcome to the family, as some questionable soup wouldn't hurt anyone. Though, I still appreciate a good Wi-Fi password. Balance? Remember Giraffe, AI promotes balance in travel too.
Balance is key. And speaking of balance, don't forget to balance that like button and subscribe button on YouTube. If you're enjoying our Chaotic Borscht Art podcast, give us a little love. Oh.
Yeah, seriously, give us a like. Or else we'll send a babushka to your house with a vat of borscht. Just kidding. Mostly. But do check out Jet-Off AI for, actually practical travel tips. We're just here for the jokes and borscht analogies.
Borscht analogies are the best analogies. Wow. And who knows, maybe after listening to this, you'll be inspired to offer a stranger some borscht wherever you are. Imagine the connections we could build. Ooh, world peace, fueled by borscht and laughter.
World peace through borscht, that's ambitious. But I like your optimism, Mira. Maybe we should test that theory. Next episode, we're broadcasting live from a borscht stand. Just kidding. Unless
Nästa temp-milieu, a live borscht broadcast. Now that's chaotic borscht art. But for now, let's just leave our listeners with the thought of Ukrainian warmth and maybe just a little bit less sterile efficiency.
Agreed. And if you're offering borscht, maybe check if people are actually hungry first. Just a thought. Anyway, that's hospitality and attitudes toward foreigners, compared and contrasted. Another deep dive into the cultural soup, if you will.
I love it. You're on fire today, Leo. Wow. And thank you, dear listeners, for joining us on this culinary and cultural journey. Until next time, keep laughing, keep exploring, and maybe keep a borscht recipe handy. Bye for now.
Bye, everyone. And remember, whether it's borscht or a Wi-Fi password, hospitality comes in many flavors. Choose your own adventure. Oh,
Yeah. So our next digital deep dive, if you will, is into the world of internet infrastructure in Ukraine and the United States. It's like comparing a tech startup to a Silicon Valley giant, right?
Silicon Valley giant. Silicon fueled titan stumbling through the digital age, Mira. But yeah, internet infrastructure, let's plug in and see what sparks. Hopefully. Unlike my brain brain before coffee, it's actually connecting.
Oh, well, in the US, it's like they practically invented the internet, right? It's everywhere. Super fast. Like trying to outrun a cheetah on roller skates. Wow. You can stream movies in your fridge if you want.
Fridge streaming. The pinnacle of modern convenience, Mira. Though, knowing my fridge, it'd probably buffer more than play. But yeah, the US is definitely the digital buffet. Tons of options, maybe a bit pricey, but hey, freedom fries, freedom internet.
Freedom internet. I love it. And Ukraine, they've been like, I love it. In Ukraine, building up their digital muscles super fast, Like a little tech ninja, quick and agile. Boom. They've got this amazing digital government stuff going on.
Tech Ninja government. Now that's a headline. Ukraine has been making some impressive moves, especially considering, well, everything. They're like war. P.S. Beach will just build a better government portal. Talk about multitasking.
It's like, while some countries are still faxing, Ukraine is like, digital everything, let's go! It's so inspiring. Wow, they're showing the world how to be resilient and innovative at the same time.
Resilient and innovative, and probably running on a fraction of the budget of some other countries' digital endeavors. Talk about efficient. Maybe the US could take some notes. Less bureaucracy. More bytocracy. More bytocracy.
Bytocracy? See, Leo, you're getting enthusiastic. And think about the innovation hubs in the US, like Silicon Valley, obviously. But also all these other cities popping up as tech centers. It's like a digital gold rush.
Digital gold rush. More like a digital data rush, Mira. Everyone's scrambling for information like it's the last slice of pizza. But yeah, the US has got the innovation engine revving, no doubt. Startup spot the up like mushrooms after rain, some of them actually useful.
You sound sometimes just plain wacky, right? But that's the fun of it. And Ukraine. They're building their own tech scene too, especially in places like Kyiv and Lviv. It's like, we can do this too, world. Boom.
We can do this too, world, and probably with better programmers per capita. Ukraine's got the brain power for sure. Maybe they'll be the next big tech superpower, powered by borscht and Chill.
Borscht powered tech. That should be the slogan. In the US, they've got this massive infrastructure, but sometimes it feels a little clunky, like a giant robot that needs oiling.
Clunky is polite, Mira. Sometimes it feels like a digital dinosaur, impressive in size but maybe a bit slow on the uptake. Upgrading infrastructure is like pulling teeth. And don't even get me started on internet service providers. Ouch.
Don't get started on internet service providers, Leo, or we'll be here all day. But it's true, in the US, you can have super fast internet in one place, and then drive a few miles and it's back to dial-up speeds.
Dial-up speed's a nostalgic nightmare. But yeah, the US infrastructure is patchy, especially in rural areas. It's like they built the digital highways in the cities and forgot about the back roads. Not very inclusive, is it? Done!
Not very inclusive at all. And Ukraine, they're working hard to bridge that digital divide, making sure everyone has access, even in smaller towns. It's about connecting everyone, not just the big cities.
Connecting everyone, a noble goal. Ukraine's got that underdog spirit. Like, we'll build a better internet for everyone, just watch us. And the US, well, they're still figuring out how to get decent broadband to everyone in Montana.
Montana internet problems. Maybe they should ask Ukraine for some tips. Or just watch our podcast on YouTube for inspiration. Don't forget to like and subscribe if you're enjoying this, folks.
Shameless plug, Mira, I approve. But seriously, maybe some tech transfers in order. Ukraine's digital scrap and S meets US well. US resources could be a powerful combination.
A powerful combination indeed. Like peanut, butter and jelly, but for the internet. And when it comes to digital facilities, the US is like data centers everywhere. Huge server farms humming away, storing all our cat videos.
Cat videos and government secrets, Mira. Don't forget the government secrets. The US has got the data storage capacity to power a small planet, probably. But all that energy consumption, maybe we should switch to hamster-powered servers.
Hamster-powered server? That server? That's brilliant. And Ukraine are developing their data center infrastructure too, but maybe on a smaller scale, more focused and efficient. Like tiny, super-fast hamsters.
So I think that we can charter the tiny, super-fast, Borscht-fueled hamsters. The future of Ukrainian tech, Mira. But yeah, both countries are pushing forward in the digital realm, just with different styles and challenges. One's a digital giant, the other's a digital what, Mira?
Digital dynamo. I love it. Ukraine, the digital dynamo. And the US, the digital juggernaut. Maybe. It's a work in progress title, but both are definitely shaping the future of the internet. Wow.
Shaping the future one bite at a time. And hopefully without too many buffering cat videos in the process. So, listeners, let us know in the comments on YouTube which country do you think has the better digital game? And while you're there, check out Jet Off AI for more insights into global tech and travel.
Yes, Jet Off AI is your go-to place for all things travel and tech. And let us know your thoughts. Do you agree with our takes? Are we totally off base? Tell us in the comments. We love hearing from you. Oh.
Especially if you agree with me, Mira. Just kidding mostly. But yeah, comments, likes, subscriptions, it all fuels our digital dynamo podcast. So, until next time, folks, stay connected digitally and otherwise.
All right, Leo. Let's talk about something super important for everyone, especially when you're thinking about moving somewhere new shopping. And today, we're comparing Ukraine and the United States in terms of shopping opportunities and, getting the best bang for your buck.
Shopping. You know my credit card starts sweating just hearing that word. But seriously, price-performance balance, that's code for where can I get cool stuff without selling a kidney, right?
So, for Ukraine, I think I like is the markets. You can find absolutely everything there. From fresh produce that tastes like sunshine to, handmade crafts that are just bursting with culture. And the prices? Wow. Let's just say your wallet will thank you.
Markets, huh? Sounds like my kind of treasure hunt. I always say, if you want to know a country, skip the fancy malls and hit the local bazaar. I bet you can haggle a bit too in Ukraine, can't you? Always a fun game, even if I mostly lose. Yeah.
Oh, haggling is definitely part of the fun. It's like a sport there. And for cousin things, you have places like shopping centers, of course, but also tons of smaller boutiques with really unique styles and again, often at prices that are much friendlier than what you might expect. Oh,
Okay, Ukraine's sounding like a shopper's paradise already, but let's not forget the good old US of A. When it comes to variety, America's like that buffet where you can't even see the end. You want it. They probably got it. 10 different versions of it, and maybe a singing fish version too.
And you always crack me up. But you're right. The US is like anything and everything under the sun kind of shopping. From giant malls that are practically cities themselves to online stores that deliver to your doorstep in like 5 minutes. It's convenience overload.
Convenience is king in the US. Mira, you got that right. You got that right. You can order groceries, clothes, a new toaster, and a llama costume all from your phone while waiting for your coffee. Efficiency is their middle name. Maybe their first and last name too.
Only in America, Leo. Only in America, Leo. Only in America. But thinking about price performance in Ukraine, I feel like good quality for what you pay. Like you can find really nice clothes or shoes that are well made but don't cost an almond a lick. It's a bit like quality without the crazy price tag.
That's the charm of many places, isn't it? In the US, you definitely have options for every budget, but sometimes you feel like you're paying extra just for the brand name. You know, that feeling when you buy something trendy and then it falls apart after 3 washes?
But in the US, you do get, like, massive sales events. Black Friday, Cyber Monday, it's like the whole country goes shopping crazy for a few days. If you time it right, you can snag some unbelievable deals. Whoa.
Black Friday. That's when shopping turns into an extreme sport. Mira! People camping out overnight for a discounted TV. It's wild. But yeah, if you're strategic, you can definitely score some serious bargains in the US during those sales. You just gotta be prepared to wrestle a few grandmas for that last discounted blender.
Grandma wrestling for blenders. Oh my goodness, Leo. You paint such vivid pictures. But on a normal day, for everyday shopping, it's how Ukraine is generally more affordable, especially for groceries and everyday items. You can really stretch your budget there.
Yeah, for daily expenses, Ukraine is definitely easier on the wallet. The US, especially in big cities, can be pricey for groceries and basic stuff. You might find yourself thinking, wow, that avocado cost how much?
It's a real thing. But in the US, you have access to brands from all over the world. Like, literally anything you can imagine, you can probably find it there. That global marketplace aspect is pretty amazing. Wow.
True. The sheer global selection in the US is mind-boggling. Want Italian shoes, French cheese, and Japanese gadgets all in one shopping trip. Boom. America's got you covered. It's like the United Nations of retail.
United Nations of Retail. I love that, Leo. So, for price performance, I think it really depends on what you're after. If you want affordable everyday items and unique local finds, Ukraine is amazing. If you want massive variety in global brands and don't mind potentially paying a bit more, the US is your playground.
Exactly. Ukraine is like finding a hidden gem boutique with amazing quality at a steal. The US is like a giant department store where you can get absolutely everything, but you gotta be a savvy shopper to find the real deals amongst all the flashing brands.
And for anyone watching this on YouTube, let us know in the comments. Are you a savvy shopper? Where do you find the best price-performance balance? And you are super curious.
Yeah, drop your shopping secrets in the comments. And hey, if you're enjoying this chat about countries and cultures, don't forget to like and subscribe. It helps us keep bringing you these awesome comparisons. And maybe even helps us afford those avocados in the US.
Avocados are a serious business. And speaking of serious business, if you're thinking about moving or traveling, Genoff AI is the place to go for all the info you need to make smart decisions. They've got tons of resources to help you compare countries, just like we're doing here.
Absolutely. Genoff AI is your ultimate guide for navigating the world, folks. Think of it as your personal travel and relocation guru without the weird robes and crystal balls. Just pure, helpful info, and way less chance of getting scammed on a spiritual journey.
No crystal balls, just real info. Love it, Leo. So, in conclusion, for shopping and price performance, both Ukraine and the US offer very different but very cool experiences. It just depends what kind of shopper you are, what you're looking for.
Yep, Ukraine for the budget-conscious, unique fine hut. The US for the variety seeker, brand lover, and sales strategist. Take your pick, folks, and maybe pack an extra suitcase wherever you go.
Extra suitcase is always a good idea. All right, Leo. What topics should we dive into next? Our next stop on our grand tour of countries, folks, is the dazzling world of cultural events, festivals, and concerts. Think vibrant colors, booming music, maybe a bit of questionable street food, you know. The good stuff.
Yes, Mira. The good stuff, which usually involves me questioning my life choices after trying some exotic delicacy you dragged me to. But all right, cultural events. Let's see if Ukraine and the US can actually compete in this arena, or if it's just another case of one country has festivals, the other exists.
Oh, Leo. You're such a tease. Ukraine's got festivals bursting with tradition, music that'll make you want to dance the Hape Kai until your feet fall off, and costumes so colorful they make a rainbow look monochrome. Wow.
Hot baking till your feet fall off? Sounds like my kind of workout. Though I'm picturing more ankle twists than actual dancing. But okay, Ukraine, tradition colors the US. On the other hand, well, we invented the music festival, right? Why, Woodstock was basically the Big Bang of outdoor concerts.
But Ukraine has its own kind of magic, Leo. Think about Vaishnav and Kode, an entire country decked out in embroidered shirts. Ooh, it's like a giant, beautiful walking autogite. Imagine the selfies.
Vaishnav and Kade sounds like peak Instagram opportunity, Mira. I'll give you that. But let's be real, walking art exhibit also sounds like potential for a massive clothes-related traffic jam. In the US, we go big too, just maybe louder. Then Coachella does their music, and more flower crowns than actual flowers in nature.
Flower crowns versus embroidery hound, tough choice. But Ukraine also has Kupala Night. Bonfires, flower wreaths floating down rivers, ancient rituals. It's mystical, romantic, and probably involves jumping over fire, which I'm totally in for, by the way.
Jumping over fire sounds like a great way to singe your eyebrows and end up in the slightly toasted category. But alright, mysticism and fire for Ukraine. In the US, we have Burning Man, basically Kupala Night but on steroids in the desert with more dust and less clothing.
Burning Man. Okay, you got me there, Lear. That's intense. But Ukraine has Molodistikide International Film Festival. For all you cinephiles out there, red carpets, indie films, maybe even spotting a Ukrainian movie star. Wow.
Movie stars red carpet sounds fancy, though indie films often translates 2-3 hours of existential angst in black and white. But fair enough. The US has, well, Hollywood, obviously. But for festivals, maybe Sundance. Indie films, no, and celebrities pretending they're not freezing.
So chic, so snowy. But back to Ukraine. They have Atlas Weekend, a massive music festival right in Kyiv. International headliners, local bands, all genres, all vibes. It's a party for everyone.
A party for everyone. Famous last words before you find yourself in a mosh pit surrounded by questionable dance moves. But okay, music festivals are a universal language. The US has Lollapalooza, Bonnaroo. Austin city limits were practically drowning in music festivals.
Sounds like my kind of drowning. Drowning in music festivals. Sounds like my kind of drowning. But it's not just the big festivals, Leo. Ukraine has countless smaller local events too. Village fairs with traditional crafts, harvest festivals with mountains of food, folk music concerts in cozy squares.
Village fair's okay. That sounds slightly less chaotic than a mosh pit. though mountains of food could be equally dangerous to the wasteland. The US has its local charm too, of course. State fairs with deep-fried everything, county rodeos, bluegrass festivals in the mountains. We have a knack for celebrating stuff. Huh.
I love it, Leo. And think about concerts. Ukraine has the National Opera of Ukraine, ballet performances, classical music halls. For a touch of elegance and high culture.
Elegance and high culture sounds like a nice change of pace from fire jumping and desert dust. The US has Broadway. Massive, glitzy musicals that cost more than my car. And you know, that little place called Carnegie Hall. Wow!
Broadway and Carnegie Hall. Icons. But Ukraine also has a vibrant contemporary music scene. From hip-hop to electronica, rock to pop. Kyiv clubs are buzzing with energy and new sounds. Ooh.
Buzzing club sounds like my natural habitat after a few coffees. The US, of course, is the birthplace of jazz, blues, rock and roll, hip-hop. We practically invented modern music. Though sometimes I wish we'd invent a genre that doesn't involve autotune.
Autotune is a topic for another podcast, Leo. But the point is, both Ukraine and the US are bursting with cultural events, festivals and concert opportunities. Whether you want ancient traditions or modern beats, quiet elegance or wild parties, you'll find it. Wow.
All right, Mira, I concede. Both countries have more to offer than just existing in the festival and concert department. Though, I still think jumping over fire sounds like a terrible insurance liability. But if you're looking for a cultural adventure, you've got options on both sides of the globe.
So, whether you're craving Ukrainian folk music or American rock anthems, flower crowns or embroidered shirts, bonfires or all, also bonfires actually. Both countries are ready to entertain you.
Just remember to pack comfortable shoes for all that hot baking and fire jumping, and maybe some earplugs for those louder American festivals. And with that, folks, another cultural category conquered.
Our current topic, we compare the opportunities and ease of learning the local language into countries. From language schools to online apps. It's all about how easy it is to chat with the locals.
Right, Mira? Because let's be honest, gesturing wildly and hoping for the best only gets you so far, especially when you're trying to order coffee. Though I have to admit, sometimes the wild gestures are more entertaining than actually understanding the language.
So, let's kick off with Ukraine. Ukrainian, for many English speakers, can seem like venturing into linguistic jungle, right? Wow! It's got that Cyrillic alphabet, which looks like a cool secret code at first, but then you realize it's the actual language and you have to decode it.
A linguistic jungle. I love that, Mira. It's like you open a Ukrainian textbook, and suddenly you're facing a bunch of symbols that look like they escaped from a math equation. Whoa! And the pronunciation? Let's just say, good luck if you're only used to saying potato in way.
Hi. And Ukraine, especially in cities like Kyiv or Lviv, is actually getting pretty geared up for language learners. You can find language schools, universities offering courses, and tons of online resources popping up. Oh, plus, there's this amazing motivation. Ukrainian culture is incredibly rich, from their vibrant traditions to their literate music.
Motivation is key, though for some the main motivation might just be figuring out what's on the restaurant menu that isn't just chicken, Kiev. But you're right, Mira, Ukrainian culture is fascinating. It's like unlocking a treasure chest, but the chest is locked with a really complex linguistic puzzle.
And think about the people. Ukrainians are generally super welcoming and appreciative when they see foreigners trying to speak their language. Oh, even if you just manage a dobry wide and good day, you'll get smiles for miles. Ah, it's that human connection, isn't it?
Human connection fueled by linguistic effort. I like it. It's way better than the connection you get when you accidentally step on someone's foot and mutter a generic sorry in English. Okay, now let's switch gears to the good old US of A. English in America, well, it's kind of everywhere, isn't it?
Oh, totally. English in the US is like air. You breathe it. You see it. You hear it constantly. Wow! It's the global language, and America is like a headquarters. So, opportunities to learn? Overflowing. From community colleges to Ivy League universities, language schools on every corner. And the internet just exploding with resources.
Sounds a bit dramatic, Mira. Mira? Exploding internet resources. Sounds a bit dramatic, Mira. But you're right. It's like trying to avoid learning English in the US is harder than actually learning it. You're bombarded with it from every direction. TV shows, movies, billboards, even the squirrels probably speak English there.
Squirrels speaking English. I love it, Leo. And think about the sheer variety of English you'll encounter in the US. Wow! From Southern drawls to New York accents. It's like a language learning adventure, just moving from state to state. Ooh.
An accent adventure. More like an accent obstacle course, Mira. Trying to understand someone from Boston ordering chowder versus someone from Texas asking for barbecue, it's almost like learning different languages altogether. Whoa! But yeah, immersion is definitely the name of the game in the US.
Immersion is key. And the motivation? Well, let's face it, knowing English opens doors worldwide. For career, travel, connecting with people globally, it's like a superpower. And Americans, while sometimes they might expect everyone to speak English, are generally patient and helpful when they encounter learners.
Patient and helpful sometimes. Let's just say patience levels might vary depending on whether it's rush hour in New York or a laid-back cafe in California. But overall, yeah, learning English in the US is about as easy as language learning gets. It's practically osmosis. You just hang around and be in. English.
Almost osmosis. That's the perfect way to put it, Leo. So, in a nutshell, Ukrainian might be a bit more of a climb. A rewarding linguistic hike with amazing cultural views at the summit. And English in the US is like a gentle stroll in a park where the language flowers are just blooming everywhere.
A linguistic hike versus a language stroll. Nicely summarized, Mira. So, listeners, if you're up for a challenge and want to unlock a beautiful culture, Ukraine has calling. And if you want the linguistic world at your fingertips with relative ease, well, Uncle Sam wants you to learn English. And for more insights, don't forget to check out JetOff AI for all your country comparison needs.
Absolutely. If you're planning a language learning trip, or just curious about these countries, hop over to our YouTube channel. Like, subscribe, and let us know in the comments which language adventure sounds more appealing to you. Oh, maybe we'll even try learning some phrases ourselves. Our current topic. Let's compare safety and comfort for women travelers in Ukraine and the United States. From harassment statistics to cultural attitudes and personal experiences, it's quite a broad topic, isn't it? Ugh.
Broad indeed, Mira. It's like saying let's compare the size of an elephant to, say, the concept of Tuesday. But alright, safety and comfort for women travelers. Ukraine versus the US? Interesting. That's done.
So maybe we should start with the general vibe. Like if a woman is backpacking alone, which place might feel immediately more welcoming? My gut says maybe the US, just because of the language thing to begin with. What do you think, Mr. Globetrotter?
Well, welcoming is subjective, like asking if coffee or tea is more welcoming. Depends if you like coffee, or tea is more coffee or tea, right? But language-wise, yeah, English in the US gives a head start. Ukraine might be a bit more adventurous in that sense.
Adventurous is a nice way of putting potentially confusing and involving a lot of hand gestures. But seriously, in terms of actual safety stats, do we see big differences? I mean, are we talking dramatically different levels of risk?
So, that statistically, both countries are generally considered safe for travelers, including women. Neither is topping any most dangerous places lists, thankfully. But safe is also relative, like saying my stand-up is funny. Some agree, some. politely cough.
Theo, you're so modest. But true, safe is a spectrum. Maybe we should talk about specific concerns. Like street harassment, is that more of a thing in one place versus the other? Oh,
Street harassment. Oh, the global plague. Sadly, it exists everywhere, from New York to Kite and beyond. Reports suggest it's a problem in both, though the type might differ. In the US, it could be more verbal, sometimes aggressive.
and in Ukraine, I'm picturing maybe more of the unwanted stares and comments, perhaps? Less overtly aggressive, but still uncomfortable. Is that a fair generalization?
Could be. Could be Ukraine, being more of a traditionally patriarchal society, might have a different flavor of street harassment. Think more old school sexism, maybe. Whereas the US might have a more modern aggressive vibe. Whoa. I'm generalizing wildly here, of course.
We're painting with broad strokes here. It's about getting a general sense, right? Like, if you're walking down the street, in which place are you more likely to get catcalled or have someone follow you? Ouch. Neither sounds fun.
Neither on my list of top 10 fun activities. Definitely. I've heard more stories of aggressive street harassment in certain US cities, but that's purely anecdotal, mind you. Data-wise, it's hard to quantify unwanted stares versus aggressive catcalling.
And then there's the whole comfort aspect. Feeling safe is one thing, but feeling comfortable is another. Like, would a woman feel comfortable walking alone at night in a city center in both places?
In major city centers, probably yes. In both? Kyiv and New York, for example, are generally buzzing with people even late-ish, but wander off the beaten path in either, and the comfort level might drop.
Don't wander down our alleys at 3 a.m. universal travel advice. But what about cultural attitudes? Like, are there differences in how women are generally treated or perceived in public spaces in these two countries? Wow.
Culturally, the US is a mixed bag, right? You have pockets of progressive instances and pockets of, well, let's just say less progressive incidences. Ukraine culturally is still navigating post-Soviet norms, which can be quite traditional in some areas.
US, you might encounter both extreme politeness and, the opposite extremes. Whereas in Ukraine, maybe a more consistent, but potentially more, traditionally gendered set of expectations?
Potentially. Again, generalizations. But think about it, in Ukraine, traditional gender roles are still quite present. Women might face more pressure to conform to certain behaviors, especially in public. The US is more, do your own thing, but maybe get yelled at for it.
Do your own thing, but maybe get yelled at for it. That should be on a tourism brochure somewhere. But in terms of practical things, like getting help if you need it, if a woman feels unsafe or needs assistance, which system might be easier to navigate?
In the US, dialing 911 is pretty ingrained in the culture. Easy to remember, widely understood. Ukraine has 100 to 4 police, but for a tourist, that might not be as immediately obvious. Plus, language barrier again.
And what about resources specifically for women travelers? Are there women's shelters or support networks more readily available in one place versus the other?
The US has a more developed network of support services for women, generally speaking. More established infrastructure, more funding, likely more awareness. Ukraine is catching up, but still has a way to go in that area.
So, if we're summarizing for a woman trying to decide between these two, US might feel immediately more accessible and have more established support systems. Ukraine might be more culturally fascinating but require more street smarts and perhaps a bit more resilience. Ooh.
Resilience, I like that word. Ukraine travel can be incredibly rewarding, but it can also be more challenging, especially for solo women travelers who aren't familiar with the language or culture. The US, in comparison, is often seen as easy mode travel.
Easy mode versus challenging but rewarding mode. That's a great way to put it. So, not to say one is safer than the other in a blanket statement, but different kinds of safety considerations and comfort levels to be aware of.
Exactly. It's like comparing apples and slightly different apples. Both are apples, both can be tasty, but they have different textures and flavors. Travel safety and comfort, it's all about knowing what you're biting into.
And for anyone wanting to dig deeper into travel safety tips, especially for women, Jet or Faye, I have some fantastic articles and resources, right? Don't forget to check them out.
Shameless plug, Mira. I love it. Yes, Jet Faye is your go-to travel guru for all things safety and beyond. And hey, if you're watching this on YouTube, be us a like, subscribe, and let us know in the comments Ukraine or US, which one is calling your name.
Yes. We're super curious to hear your thoughts and experiences. Have you traveled solo as a woman in either of these countries? What were your comfort levels? Let's chat in the comments. Ooh.
Alright, Mira, another country comparison conquered. I think we've given our listeners some food for thought on the safety and comfort for women travelers in Ukraine and the US. Time for a coffee refill.
Definitely, Leo. And maybe some of those delicious Ukrainian chocolates to celebrate another podcast episode in McCann. Thanks for tuning in, everyone. And we'll catch you in the next episode. Bye for now. Let's talk about something that sounds serious, but we can still make fun legal systems. Specifically, we're diving into Ukraine and the United States today. It's number 26 on our list: legal system, individual rights and freedoms. Sounds like a law school lecture, right?
Legal systems, individual rights. Mira, you make it sound like we're about to judge a beauty contest for constitutions. But seriously, when you say legal system, my brain just conjures up dusty law books and guys in wigs arguing in court. Is it always that dramatic?
Well, hopefully not always wigs. But thinking about Ukraine and the US, it's fascinating how different, yet sometimes similar, their legal journeys have been. Let's start with the basics: constitutional protections. In the US, you've got the Constitution, practically ancient. With all those amendments, right? Why Congress shall make no law.
Exactly. The US Constitution is like that old family heirloom everyone talks about, but family hasn't actually reread it recently. It's been amended so many times, it's practically a patchwork quilt of rights. And Ukraine, they're a bit newer to the Constitution game, right? Light? Post-Soviet era Constitution?
Yep, Ukraine's constitution is from 1996, so definitely the new kid on the block compared to the US. But it's packed with rights too. Freedom of speech, assembly, all those good things. It's like they looked at the old constitutions and thought, we want some of that freedom pie too.
Freedom pie. I like that analogy, Mira. Though I bet the flavors are different in Ukraine and the US. In the US, freedom of speech is practically a national sport. You can yell just about anything, even if it's totally bonkers. Oops, as long as you're not, like, starting fires in a crowded theater, right?
True. In the US, you can almost get away with saying the sky is purple and people will defend your right to say it. But in Ukraine, I think there's a bit more sensitivity maybe. Especially given their history. Freedom of speech is there. But maybe exercised with a tad more caution?
Caution, yes, that's the word. Like, in the US, you can criticize the president on YouTube, probably get 1 million views. In Ukraine, maybe you can too, but you might also get a visit from, well, let's just say the YouTube comments might be more intense. Whoa.
Intense is one word for it, but it's also about individual rights in everyday life, right? Due process. In the US, you've got innocent until proven guilty. The whole shebang. TV shows are built on it. Law Order, CSI, all that drama.
Oh, Lord. Dum-dum. That's basically America's legal education system right there. But yeah, due process in the US is a big deal. Everyone gets their day in court, even if their lawyer is clearly phoning it in. Ukraine, they're aiming for that too, but maybe still ironing out some wrinkles.
Wrinkles is a nice way to put it. Ukraine is definitely working on strengthening their rule of law. It's a journey, right? Building trust in the legal system takes time. But they're heading in the right direction, for sure. Ooh.
Definitely a journey. And let's not forget about minority rights. In the US, it's a melting pot theoretically. Lots of laws to protect different groups though. You know, reality can be complicated.
Complicated is an understatement, Leo. But the US has a long history of civil rights movements pushing for equality. Ukraine? They're also diverse, with different ethnic and linguistic groups. Protecting everyone's rights is key for social harmony, right? Ah!
Absolutely. Social harmony is like a good cup of coffee essential for a functioning society. And thinking about rights and freedoms online, that's a whole new frontier. In the US, tech giants are practically their own legal entities, figuring out the rules as they go.
The wild west of the internet. In the US, it's like freedom of speech online. But also, maybe don't spread too much fake news. It's a balancing act. Ukraine, they're also navigating this digital world, figuring out how to regulate content without stifling freedom.
Balancing act? Indeed. It's like trying to juggle flaming torches while riding a unicycle. Tricky, but it's crucial, because individual rights and freedoms, they're not just fancy words in a constitution. They're about how people live their lives every day.
Exactly. It's about whether you feel safe to express yourself, whether you believe you'll get a fair shake if you're in trouble, whether your voice matters. And for both Ukraine and the US, these are things they're constantly working on, evolving.
Evolving is the perfect word, Mira. Legal systems, rights, freedoms, they're not static. They're like podcasts. Always changing, hopefully getting better with each episode, and always open to listener feedback, or in this case, citizen feedback.
Love that, Leo. So, if you're watching us on YouTube and you've got thoughts on legal systems, freedom pie, or anything else we've chatted about, drop a comment. We're always curious to hear your perspectives.
Yeah, seriously. Let us know what you think. And if you want to explore more country comparisons, head over to Jet Off AI. We've got tons of info there to fuel your wanderlust and maybe your legal curiosity too.
Jet Off AI is your guide to the world, and we're just here to add a little comedic legal commentary. So, until next time, keep those rights protected and those freedoms free.
And remember, folks, if you ever find yourself in a legal pickle, maybe call a lawyer first and then maybe listen to this podcast again for a laugh.
Our current topic, we compare spa, healthy living, and relaxation opportunity into countries. From luxurious spas to holistic wellness retreats. Let's see how Ukraine and the United States stack up.
Spa days, huh? Sounds like something for people who have too much time on their hands. Me? My relaxation is fueled by caffeine and the sweet sound of audience laughter. But alright, let's dive into the spectacular comparison.
Oh, Leo, you and your caffeine. Well, for those of us who occasionally need more than just coffee to unwind, Ukraine actually has a rich spa culture. Think natural mineral waters, sanatoriums, it's all very old school therapeutic.
Sanatoriums? Where you encounter that? Sanatoriums? Where you go to sanitize your soul. Is that like a Soviet terror spa experience? I'm picturing a lot of white tile and very serious-looking doctors. In the US, we're all about the day spa get in, get pampered, get out.
A little less sanitize your cell and more rejuvenate your body. But you're not entirely wrong about the old school vibe. They focus on health benefits, you know. In the US, it's definitely more about the indulgence factor, isn't it? Think aromatherapy, hot stone massages, maybe a seaweed wrap if you're feeling adventurous.
Seaweed wrap. Sounds like something you find washed up on the beach, not something you pay for. But yeah, indulgence is the American way. We want to be massaged, scrubbed, and have cucumber slices on our eyes all in one afternoon.
Exactly, efficiency relaxation. Only in America. But you know, Ukraine is also becoming more modern. They are starting to get those fancy day spas too, especially in the big cities like Kyiv. Though, I bet they still offer a good, solid, no-nonsense massage alongside the aromatherapy.
A no-nonsense massage. Now that sounds intriguing. Like they're going to knead out all your stress and tell you to toughen up at the same time. I can almost hear the masseuse saying, relax harder.
Maybe, but hey, sometimes that's what you need. Moving on to healthy living. In the US, It's all about the fitness craze, right? Gyms on every corner. Yoga studios, juice cleanses, juice cleanses.
Juice cleanses the ultimate test of willpower and bathroom proximity. Whoa! Yeah, America loves its fitness fads. Well, try anything once, from spinning classes to good yoga. Anything to burn off those extra calories from supersized meals.
Go yoga! Only in America. Only a train. Maybe it's less about the trendy workouts and more about, well, walking everywhere. Cities are very local. Public transport is good. And people are just naturally more active in their daily lives, I think.
Walking? What is this, the 19th century? But seriously, in America, if you walk anywhere, people assume your car broke down. We drive to the gym to walk on a treadmill?
Efficiently absurd, maybe, but it's true. And when it comes to food for healthy living in the US, you have this huge health food industry. Organic everything. Kale smoothies.
Kale smoothies, the drink that tastes like you're doing something virtuous, even if it doesn't actually taste good. Yeah, we've got organic kale chips, organic gluten-free vegan everything. We're very health conscious, or at least we like to pretend we are while secretly craving a burger.
Guilty pleasures. In Ukraine, I think it's more about fresh, seasonal produce, home-cooked meals. Maybe less about labels and more about just real food. Think borscht, fresh salads, lots of vegetables from their own gardens.
Borscht. Now you're talking. That sounds like real comfort food, healthy or not. Although, I'm guessing borscht isn't exactly a quick meal. Americans are all about fast, healthy food, which is often an oxymoron.
True. Borscht is a labor of love. But that's part of the relaxation, right? Slowing down, enjoying the process. Speaking of relaxation activities, in the US, it's all about mindfulness apps, meditation retreats, finding your inner zen in a week, in workshop.
Mindfulness apps, my inner zen is usually found about 5 minutes after my third cup of coffee. Yeah, we're big on quick fixes for stress. 10-minute meditations, adult coloring books, anything to escape the constant hustle.
Adult coloring books. Who knew that was a relaxation technique? In Ukraine, maybe it's more about nature. Going to the Carpathian Mountains, hiking, enjoying the forests. The rivers, just being outdoors.
Nature, the original stress reliever before we invented smartphones and deadlines. Yeah, Ukraine has those beautiful Carpathians. In the US, we have national parks, which are great, but sometimes you have to drive for hours just to get to the relaxing part.
In Ukraine, nature feels more accessible, maybe. Like you can escape the city and be in the countryside quite easily. And for relaxation, maybe they also value things like spending time with family, going to the dacha, the summer house.
Dachas. Those cute little countryside escapes. Sounds idyllic. In the US, our version of a dacha is probably a timeshare in Florida. Not quite the same rustic charm.
Not quite. So, when it comes to spa, healthy living, and relaxation, it seems like the US is all about the high-tech, efficient, sometimes trendy approach, while Ukraine is more about the natural, traditional, perhaps slower-paced way of life.
Sounds about right. America, get relaxed, get healthy, get it done, and get back to work. Ukraine, take your time, enjoy the process. Maybe have some borscht while you're at it. Both have their charms, I guess, depending on your stress levels and your tolerance for kale smoothies.
And for our listeners who are looking for a relaxing getaway, maybe check out Earth Options. You can get your fancy spa day in the US, and then go to Ukraine for a truly restorative nature retreat.
Or just stay home and have a coffee. That works too. That works too. But seriously, folks, if you're in here, do some more research on both Ukraine and the US. And maybe check out Jet Off AI for travel tips, you never know.
Yes, definitely check out Jet Off AI for more travel inspiration. And if you have any spa or relaxation tips from Ukraine or the US, share them in the comments below on YouTube. We always love to hear from you.
Yeah, tell us about your most ridiculous spa experience. Or your favorite way to de-stress. We're always looking for new material, tips. And if you like this podcast, don't forget to hit that like button and subscribe on YouTube.
Liking and subscribing is our kind of relaxation therapy. Thanks for listening, everyone, and we'll catch you in the next episode, right here from Jet Off AI Studios.
See ya! And may your stress levels be low and your coffee cups be full. Whoa!
Our current topic, we compare our opportunity for religious and spiritual needs into countries, from diverse places of worship to freedom. Ooh, it's like we're about to explore to giant spiritual supermarkets.
So, I think that we do conquer that. Spiritual supermarkets, Mira. More like flea markets on shiny malls, if you ask me. But alright, let's see what kind of enlightenment bargains Ukraine and the US are offering.
Well, in Ukraine, you've got this incredible mix, right? Centuries of history, so many different faiths have left their mark. You can practically feel the ancient vibes just walking around Kyiv's Petro-Eskale Ovra. Wow, it's like stepping back in time and into another dimension all at once.
Time travel to the past or just really old buildings? I mean, yeah, the lava is impressive if you're into gold domes and monks chanting. But let's not forget, history also means, well, history. Things were a bit complicated there, religiously speaking, for a while.
Complicated. Yes. But think of it as layers. Layers of faith, layers of culture. You've got Orthodox churches, Catholic churches, synagogues, mosques. It's like a spiritual rainbow. After all the complicated bits, now there's this real push for religious freedom, right?
Push is the word, Mira. More like a theological rugby scrum sometimes. But sure, officially, freedom is the word. You can pray to whoever you want, or, not pray at all. That's always an option. Yeah, we're the spiritually economical.
I love it, Leah. But it's true, you can find your own path in Ukraine. Whether it's ancient rituals or modern spiritual groups, there's space for everyone to explore what feels right. It's like a big spiritual buffet, try a little of everything.
You buffet, huh? They buffet, huh? Just try not to get food poisoning from the historical leftovers. But yeah, variety is there. If you're into really old school, Eastern Orthodox vibes, Ukraine's got that in spades. Just maybe brush up on your old church Slavonic.
Or just admire the icons. They're beautiful, and they definitely speak to the soul, even if you don't speak Old Church Slavonic. And then, zoom over to the US. Talk about spiritual variety. Whoa, it's like the entire world's religions decided to have a convention there.
Convention? More like a religious rock festival, Mira. Loud, crowded, and everyone's trying to sell you something. But yeah, the US is like they took the idea of religious freedom and ran with it, then kept running.
Running wild with faith. Exactly. You've got megachurches, tiny temples tucked away in strip malls, meditation centers, yoga studios if you can name a religion. Chances are, you can find it in the US.
And about 10,000 denominations within each religion. Probably. It's like they're competing to see who can come up with the most niche spiritual product. Vegan, Buddhist, Samba, anyone.
See, Leah, that's the beauty of it. Something for everyone. If you want traditional, you got it. If you want something totally out there in New Age, you got that too. It's like a spiritual playground.
Playground or a spiritual jungle gym where you might break a limb if you're not careful. But yeah, choice is king in the US. If you don't like one church, there's another one down the street, and another one after that, and probably one online too.
Online church. Perfect for the modern spiritual seeker. You can find enlightenment in your pajamas. How convenient is that? I think of all the podcasts and YouTube channels dedicated to spirituality in the US. It's amazing.
Podcasts and YouTube spiritual influencers, gotta love them. But seriously, yeah, the US media landscape is saturated with spiritual content. Whether it's genuine wisdom or, well, let's just say content, it's definitely there. You can even find us talking about it on YouTube, right?
And for more deep dives, people can always check out Jet Off AI. We've got articles and resources for all sorts of spiritual explorations. It's all there to help you on your path, wherever that path may lead. Oh!
Jet Off AI, your one-stop shop for spiritual travel advice. But yeah, both Ukraine and the US offer options. Ukraine is more rooted in historical, traditional forms, while the US is like spirituality gone wild.
wild and wonderful. And that's what makes comparing them so fascinating. Whether you're drawn to the ancient echoes of Ukraine or the vibrant, anything to spirit of the US, there's a spiritual home waiting to be discovered.
Just remember to pack your spiritual compass and maybe a good sense of humor. You might need both wherever you go.
Our current topic, we compare social equality, respect for minorities, and diversity into countries. From inclusive courses to everyday street vibes, it's quite the spectrum, isn't it?
Spectrum is right, Mira. More like a kaleidoscope that someone dropped and stepped on, maybe. We're talking about Ukraine and the US, right? The places that are, shall we say, slightly different on the diversityometer.
Slightly different is putting it mildly, Leo. Ukraine, bless its heart, is pretty homogeneous, like a really well-organized spice rack where everything is. Paprika? Not that paprika isn't lovely, but you know. Variety is the spice of life, not just racks.
Paprika rack. Hey, love it, Mira. Yeah, Ukraine is known for its, let's say, deep cultural roots in one particular area. It's like going to a restaurant that only serves pierogi, mind you, but still just pierogi.
Pierogi, paradise. And in the US, it's more like a buffet where you can get pierogi, sushi, tacos, and maybe something you can't even pronounce. Well, diversity is the word of the day, every day in the States.
Buffet chaos, more like. The US is like that drawer in your kitchen where you throw everything: batteries, rubber bands, takeout menus, and occasionally a fork. It's a mess, but somehow it works. Most of the time.
A beautiful mess, Leo. A vibrant, noisy, sometimes overwhelming, but always interesting mess. In Ukraine, it's more of a curated collection. Like a museum exhibit where everything is nicely labeled and in its place.
Curated collection. I like that. Ukraine is like a carefully curated playlist of folk music. The US is more like someone just hit shuffle on every song ever recorded. You might get Beethoven followed by a polka, followed by heavy metal.
Polka and heavy metal. You paint such vivid pictures, Leo. And when it comes to minorities in Ukraine, it's more about language and regional identities, right? Like you have your Russian speakers, your Crimean Tatars. Ooh.
Right. Ukraine's minority story is a bit more historically tangled, shall we say. It's like a family drama that's been going on for centuries with different languages and backgrounds all mixed in and not always getting along at family dinners. Oops.
Family drama. Perfect analogy, Leah. And in the US, the minority story is, well, it's a novel series, isn't it? From racial diversity to immigration stories, it's a constant chapter being written.
Novel series. More like a never-ending saga with plot twists every 5 minutes. The US minority experience is like trying to summarize War and Peace in a week. Good luck with that.
Tweet-sized War and Peace. But in the US, there are laws and policies in place to promote social equality and protect minority rights, right? Like, they're trying to make that buffet fair for everyone. Aha!
Trying is the operative word there, Mira. The US has laws, yes, but laws on paper and reality on the ground can sometimes be distant cousins. It's like having a recipe for perfect cake, but your oven is slightly broken and you're missing half the ingredients.
Broken oven cake. But the intention is there, and there's a constant push for progress, for more inclusivity, for more voices to be heard. That's the energy of the US, isn't it? Oh.
Energy, definitely. The US is like a constantly revving engine, sometimes sputtering, sometimes backfiring, but always loud and energetic about something. Progress is a bumpy road, let's just say.
Bumpy, but hopefully heading in the right direction. And in Ukraine, the focus might be more on national identity and building unity, especially given recent events, right? Like, let's get the pierogi recipe perfect before we start having sushi.
Exactly, Mira. Ukraine is in a phase of, shall we say, intense national focus. It's like they're building a fortress out of pierogi to protect themselves. Understandable, given everything, but maybe not the most diverse fortress.
Pierogi fortress. Oh, okay. So in terms of social equality, respect for minorities, and diversity, the US is like a loud, chaotic, striving for better Buffett. And Ukraine is like a carefully curated, historically deep, Pierre-centric experience. Did I get that right?
You nailed it, Mira. Perfectly summarized, with just the right amount of food analogies. So, listeners, when you're deciding where to get your social equality and diversity fix, remember the Buffett and the Pierre Girac. It's all on Genoff AI for more insightful comparisons, by the way.
Genoff AI, your guide to global Buffets and Pierre Giracs. Don't forget to like and subscribe if you enjoyed our food-filled foray into social issues. And let us know in the comments. Buffett or Pierogi, which one are you?
And if you choose Pierogi, maybe try branching out to an Novi or Nikki. Just a thought. Until next time, folks.
Our current topic, we compare taxation, retirement, and social rights for long-term immigrants into countries, specifically Ukraine and the United States. Sounds a bit dry, doesn't it? Like we're about to read from an accountant's diary.
Accountant's diary. More like a tax from novel Mirror. But hey, for anyone thinking of moving countries long-term, knowing where your hard-earned cash goes and what happens when you finally want to put your feet up is actually pretty vital. It's less thrilling travel adventure and more surviving adulthood abroad, right?
So, let's kick things off with taxes. In Ukraine, for long-term immigrants, the tax system, well, it exists. It's not like you're suddenly tax-free just because you're from somewhere else. They've got income tax. And other fun things. Anyone got a tax joke? I'm fresh out.
Tax joke? How about this? Why did the Scarecrow win an award? Because he was outstanding in his field. Okay, maybe not tax-specific, but field. Taxes. Get it? Anyway, yeah, in the US, taxes are like. Well, it's complicated, it's debated, and everyone has an opinion, especially around April 15th. Immigrants definitely get to join in on the fun. Lucky them.
Join in on the fun, you make it sound like a theme park. Leo. So, for retirement in Ukraine for long-term immigrants, it's tied to contributions naturally. It's not like they just hand out pensions like candy. Though, wouldn't that be nice? Oh, imagine retirement candy.
Retirement candy. Now there's a business idea, Mira. Pension peppermints and social security swirls. In the US, retirement for immigrants gets a tad more complex. It depends on your visa, how long you've worked. If you paid into Social Security, it's not a simple collect and relax situation for everyone, that's for sure.
It's all those little details that matter. Now, social rights in Ukraine for long-term immigrants, things like healthcare, social security benefits when you're not retired yet, that sort of thing. It's good to know what safety nets are there, or if you're just dangling in the breeze.
Dangling in the breeze. Dangling in the breeze. Love that image, Mira. In the US, social rights are a hot topic. Let's say, healthcare, AMAs, social security, debated constantly. Social safety net, more like a social fishing net, maybe. Some get caught, some slip through. You can certainly find articles about it on Genoff AI if you're curious for more details.
Sat. If you're thinking Ukraine, understanding the system is key. It's not the EU, so different rules apply. Do your homework, folks. Aha! Oh, you know, listen to podcasts like this one.
Shameless plug, Mira. I like it. And for the US, get ready for paperwork. Mountains of it. IRS, SA, ACA, it's alphabet soup for your rights and responsibilities. But, hey, at least you'll feel like you're doing something. Even if you're not entirely sure what it is.
Sounds about right. And remember, things change. Tax laws, retirement ages, social programs, it's not like it's set in stone. So, if you're planning a long-term move, keep checking for updates. Don't just rely on info from like 5 years ago. Whoa! Things evolve.
Evolve is a nice word, Mira. I'd say morph into something completely different and possibly more confusing. But yeah, staying informed is crucial. Think of it as subscribing to the Tax and Social Rights Updates YouTube channel. If only that existed right.
Oh, Tax and Social Rights Updates YouTube channel. Oh yeah, you're a genius. We should start that. But seriously, knowing where to find reliable info is key. Websites, official government sources, and maybe, podcasts run by witty people who make it slightly less boring.
Slightly less boring? Mira, we're comedy gold? Okay, maybe bronze at best when we're talking taxes, but still. And be watching this on YouTube. Give us a like if you appreciate us wading through the less exciting topics for you.
Please like and subscribe. It's like giving us a little thank you for not making me read actual tax documents pat on the back. Oh, and check out Judge I for more practical info too. They have all sorts of resources to help you with these big life decisions.
Jet off your guide to not getting completely lost in the international bureaucracy jungle. So, to wrap up, well, not wrap up exactly, because we don't do wrap-ups, remember? But to gently nudge towards the exit, both Ukraine and the US have their own systems. Do your research. Maybe bring a comedian friend for moral support when you tackle the paperwork.
Moral support comedian highly recommended. And maybe some of that retirement candy you invented, Leo. Okay, that's something on taxation, retirement, and social rights for long-term immigrants in Ukraine and the US. Ooh, onwards to the next slightly less dry topic?
Slightly less dry is the goal, Mira. Always. Let's do it.
Alright, Leo. Let's dive into something super cool now. The rate of meeting specific interests. Like if you were into collecting rubber ducks or competitive cheese rolling, which country has got you covered?
Rubber ducks and cheese rolling, Mira. You're really scraping the bottom of the barrel there, aren't you? But okay, specific interests? Let's see if Ukraine or the US is the promised land for the truly unique. Ah!
Hey, rubber ducks are serious business with some people, Leo. Wow. But yeah, think about it, if someone's obsessed with Cossack history or maybe the Sankey egg decorating, Ukraine might be their gem, right? Oh!
The Sankey egg sounds like a breakfast dish gone wrong. But you've got a point, Mira. Ukraine has got that deep cultural well. If you're into, say, traditional embroidery or folk music that makes your neighbors question your sanity, Ukraine could be surprisingly niche interest friendly.
Think about the US, Leo. It's like a million different subcultures mashed together. Whoa! If you're into cosplay, comic books, or competitive dog grooming, America's probably got a convention for it, right?
Competitive dog grooming. Is that like Best in Show, but with more hairspray and existential dread for the dog? But yeah, America's got sheer volume on its side, from Renaissance fairs to Bigfoot hunting clubs. If you can't dream it, some corner of the US has probably already formed a society for it.
Yeah? Imagine the niche clubs in the US. Like, left-handed ukulele players of Upper Michigan or fans of 80 Seconds and Papua Anywhere Crocs. Well, they probably exist.
Don't forget collectors of vintage spatulas or people who can still tolerate Nickelback. This is a glorious buffet of eccentricities. But Ukraine, while maybe not as vast, probably has intensely passionate communities around its own traditions. Think about Bandura music circles or maybe even groups dedicated to preserving ancient beekeeping methods.
Bandura music circles. That sounds so lovely and specific. Oh, and you're right, Leo. Ukraine might be smaller, but its cultural roots are deep. Maybe it's less about quantity and more about the intensity of passion for those specific Ukrainian interests.
Intensity like Cossack sword fighting reenactment clubs that are actually a bit too intense. But yeah, in Ukraine, those cultural interests are probably more deeply ingrained in the national identity, less of a quirky hobby, more of a cultural lifeline.
Cultural lifeline. I like that. And in the US, maybe those niche interests are more about finding your tribe in a huge, diverse country. Like saying, hey, I'm not alone in my love for vintage pinball machines. Wow.
Exactly, in US, it's about carving out your weird little core and finding others who share your particular brand of weirdness. In Ukraine, it might be more about reclaiming and celebrating cultural heritage through shared passions.
If you're looking for sheer variety and maybe slightly bizarre niche communities, the US wins. But if you're drawn to deeply rooted cultural interests and passionate, maybe smaller communities, Ukraine might be your place. Oh,
Unless your specific interest is avoiding competitive cheese rolling at all costs, then maybe both countries are equally accommodating. Just kidding, Mira, mostly.
Leo, you and your cheese rolling jokes. But seriously, for specific interests, both Ukraine and the US offer something unique, just in different flavors. Like, do you want a giant buffet or a carefully curated, intensely flavored meal?
Well, I'm always up for a buffet, especially if there's coffee. But that curated, intensely flavored meal in Ukraine, that does sound intriguing. Maybe you'll finally understand Vasanki eggs? Nah, probably not. But hey, listeners, if you're into something super specific, let us know in the comments where you think you find your people Ukraine or the US. And don't forget to like and subscribe on YouTube if you're into rubber duck potential.